seconds. Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to hate it. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
You got to watch A Good Year by Russell Crowe. By the way, that's a conversation you missed with Bryan Callen. He's telling me how in love he is, how busy his life is with 4 kids. We're part of the 4 Kids Club.
That's right, brother.
It's exciting, right?
It's the best. It's the best.
Right.
What else are you going to do with your time?
Best alarm clock.
Yeah. Look at Adam looking at
I love
like
that you
a deer.
guys
Adam's like a deer in the headlights.
You guys
going,
are surrounded by 2 guys that don't have kids, and we're like, what is it like?
I know. You know what it's like? It's a blast, and here's what's refreshing. Somebody else in your life's happiness is more important than your own. And that's how a man should walk through the earth eventually.
No, that's exactly it. Who's I talking to? I was talking
Yesterday.
about Sam and Nicole got married last night. Congratulations. Sambel and Nicole Carvajal. And I was talking to Nicole's parents, and Italian, real nice guys, August and Joanna, and they said, we wish we would have had more kids. We wish we would have had 10, 20 kids. Anyway, I think it was 5 or 6 kids. But that's a whole different conversation we'll get into maybe later on. All right, we got a lot of stories to go through. One, using deadly force is typically not a good thing against the president. I don't know if you know that or not, especially if you put in a contract to say, hey, guys, go get whatever you want, using deadly force. And whatever at all costs. We got a couple clips to show you about Merrick Garland, what he says with the AG, and him going back and forth with the questions of Josh Hawley. We'll show that. Comey, absolutely the most animated you've ever seen him, saying, make sure we cannot vote for Trump. We have to vote for Biden. Now, Trump was in Bronx yesterday, and a few people weren't happy. There's this girl, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, wasn't too happy about it. What are you doing coming to my place, to my city, to my town, right?
Yeah.
And thousands of people showed up. Logan Paul and Ryan Garcia, there's a feud going on with Prime, and apparently Logan Paul is talking about suing Ryan Garcia. We'll talk about that. Cameron, awkward interview on CNN about Diddy. If you've not seen this, have you seen this?
I've not seen that.
I'll show it to you. It's so awkward, it's not even funny. You got to see it when we go through it.
Good.
A couple other things here. Germany decriminalizes child pornography. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. They're thinking.
The Germans.
Literally, that's what they're
Germans.
doing.
Weird.
Germans are doing
A lot of people
that.
don't realize that if you want to get good videos on scat, which is another word for poo, they've got poo videos. That's the mecca of all those videos. Those weird.
The 2 girls, 1 cup.
They've written books about this.
So we'll go into that. We'll go into
know
that.
that?
Google cuts check for DOJ while trying to dodge jury trial in digital ads lawsuit. Trump campaign says they will sue the Apprentice filmmaker. Have you seen this new movie? What they're talking about is
yes. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
Kansas City, Cannes Film Festival. This garbage is pure fiction. So next we have Disney bleeding. Pixar slashes 14% of their workforce amid brutal budget cuts. We'll talk about the Logan Paul. Washington Post lays out an optimistic new strategy after grim financial numbers. They're down $77 million. WAPO is, and that's the company I think Bezos bought for $250 million. 50 Cent sells his documentary on Diddy to Netflix after bidding war. What a brilliant guy. Cassie speaks out after release of Diddy's assault video. No one should carry this weight alone. America's most powerful banker issues ominous warning about the U.S. economy. And Jamie Dimon from J.P. Morgan Chase implies he may be retiring soon, and I don't know if you know this or not. The reason why Caitlin Clark in the NCAA is having all the success that she's having is because she's white, and that's the reason. If it wasn't because...
So no basketball, no talent, no freak of nature.
No, it's because
just
she's
their
white.
skin color.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. It's a very, very problematic.
She's very white, by the way.
She's very white.
You can go snowblind looking at that skin.
Brian, she puts the wh in white.
And maybe we start with that one first. Tucker Carlson says reports of Russian TV show are pure nonsense. And then we have teen girl stunning smartphone usage revealed. Data, how much usage of a smartphone they use. Hulu's a new show coming out. I don't know if you've heard about this. Very interesting. It's called Virgin Island, a dating show for celibates.
Sounds boring. Sounds so boring. Oh, God.
Germany says it would arrest Netanyahu as Israeli Envoy appeals to Berlin to defy ICC. Vivek buys 8% of BuzzFeed. Pretty wild.
What is BuzzFeed?
BuzzFeed is it was a very, very popular site. They took a lot of hit.
BuzzFeed. Oh, I thought you said BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed. Got it. Sorry.
Why you
making fun of this Middle
people
Eastern?
that English is my fifth language?
The Aramaic
why are you
accent.
doing this?
In Aramaic, buzz is bus. That's it.
Buzz. Did I say BuzzFeed?
You said BuzzFeed.
I said BuzzFeed.
It's okay.
So let me do it right. BuzzFeed.com. Buzz.
Sorry, guys.
Feed.com.
He's a minority.
Florida 125% surge in property insurance bills shows havoc. Okay, so before we get into this, let me kind of share with you guys what we got going on this weekend for Memorial Day weekend. I brought something very unique that I've never shown, and I found it. I don't even know how I found it yesterday. I found my Army greens.
No way.
Yeah, I found it.
Do you still fit in?
Are you
them?
serious? There's no way
in the world. Check this out.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds like a museum.
By the way, I found this, and you know how crazy this is? It's so. I'm like, where's my name tag? Because in the Army, they made a mistake with my name tag.
What?
If you go in, look at the way they spell my name. Check this out. Can you see it?
Bet David.
Bet David. Not Bet David.
Yeah. Bet David.
David. Right?
Wow. David.
And this is the uniform that I had. I was just a regular specialist at the 101st Airborne Division. Why am I showing you this?
Wow, that's
I even brought my coin from my unit. Let me see if I brought it. I think I brought it.
How long
Maybe
were you
I forgot.
airborne?
I was in the Army 2.5 years. I didn't do long enough, but it was the greatest experience for me. Yeah. I don't have the coin. What the Army did to me is the following. I liked America. The Army made me fall in love with America. The Army made me realize what Memorial Day weekend was all about. I saw grown men and women standing in uniform, emotional. I'm like, why are they emotional? Because they lost their friends who put their lives on the line. It's the ultimate cost for you and I. And, you know, the more and more I was in the Army, for me, at least some people have different experiences, the more and more I just was like, this is the greatest country in the world. I'm so proud. I remember the first day, what's the movie that came out? What is the movie with Tom Hanks, who was in it? Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And they come and they say, there's a movie about your unit and your division, 600. I just got to 101st Airborne Division. You're the first to watch it before this goes live. We're in the audience and we watch Saving Private.
Wow.
Dude, 600 of us are crying in tears saying, America's the greatest country. I love this place, right? And the pride's been there ever since. Now, Valuetainment, anything about this logo, anything about this brand, anything about what we do, the brand is about future looks bright. The brand is about optimism, capitalism, debate. The brand represents all of those things, entrepreneurship, business. So here's what we're doing for this weekend. We have a full-on new merch drop being done today, this weekend. This hat I'm wearing, let me show you guys what's special about this hat. The last time we did numbered hats were this. This is the numbered hats we did. These were limited out of 200, okay? This is the actual last one that we kept, 200 out of 200. These hats sold for $99. They sold out within the first couple hours. If you go on eBay right now, Rob, and you type in Future Looks Bright hat, they're selling these at $350, $499, $999. No joke.
On eBay?
Of course, because they're numbered. They're limited edition.
350.
That's one of them. I think there's a few more. Maybe that's the only one. Look at the top if there's a couple more, Rob. There's one at $499. There's another one over there even at $999. You pick and choose what the numbers they are.
It'd be funny if you saw
But we are releasing look at this green and black,
sick.
Vinny.
That's sick.
We're releasing these limited edition, 1 out of 250. And the year on it is going to say 2024. Obviously, it's military green. And on top of that, we got a bunch of other stuff on there for you to go out there and order. Here's what we're doing. This will not be discounted. These hats will not be discounted because they're limited edition. And first come, first serve. You go place the order, you get it. However, for Memorial Day weekend, anybody that places an order for $79, I think you get can you go back to the discount numbers? You get a 20% discount, 79 plus, 25 on 199. You get 35% on 399 and up. First 25 people that place an order for $400 or more, I FaceTime call you. You literally are going to get a FaceTime call from me for those that placed the order. If you're watching this listening to this on Spotify or Apple, go to vtmerch.com, vtmerch.com. If not, there's a QR code. Go to the store, place the order. I see more people wearing Valuetainment gear and Future Looks Bright gear than ever before, and I absolutely love it. I'll stop by and take pictures with people that are wearing this gear. If you love the brand, if you love America, if you love capitalism, if you love freedom of speech, if you love free enterprise, this brand represents that. Support the brand. Go place the order. Looking forward to seeing you guys, sport the gear and represent this in the marketplace. Anyways, Happy Memorial Day weekend. Adam, why don't you start us off? The first thing you said when we came in, you said, I don't know why we're no longer playing the Pledge of Allegiance in school, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, this weekend is Memorial Day, and we've covered this on the podcast before, the Wall Street Journal, the decline of traditional values in America, and this bothers the hell out of me. Rob, you remember, I have that, I think it's on Slack, and they covered basically 5 traditions, values, that we value here in America. Number 1 is patriotism. Number 2 is religion. Number 3 is having children, which Vinny and I are working on, some more than others. Number 4 is community involvement. Number 5 is money. What bothers me the most, do you know which of all these things, these 5 things, had the highest score going back to 1990? Kids, money, community involvement, religion, patriotism. Do you know which one?
Which one?
Patriotism. 70% of Americans had a quote unquote very high important view of patriotism. That of all those 5 things have plummeted the most.
Yep.
Now you can make an argument, well, religion, you know, the fastest growing religion in America is what? Atheism, agnosticism,
Probably.
whatever. You know, people are waiting longer to have kids.
Religion in America, to be honest with you, is LGBTQ.
That's true.
He's right.
I'm being honest with you.
Well,
It's a religion.
wokeism
I think
is a
religion.
fundamentalist religion.
For sure.
And that's exactly right. It really is. And
community
by the way,
involvement,
just when you start talking about being traditional, like you just said, what you are labeled now is far right.
Yes.
They have hijacked the narrative. People get behind narratives. It's the story you tell. That's really what it's about, and you have to take back that story. You've got to fight. You've got to have the intellectual architecture to mount a defense against that. This idea that the United States is a patriarchy and an oppressive imperialist regime is not true. It's actually just not true. You've got to mount that defense, and you've got to do it in a colorful and even humorous way. The problem with defending tradition is we tend to get very sort of boxy about it, where the other side is playing loose and frivolous with it. I don't know. We've got to take back sort of the story, and we got to make it colorful so people can get behind it, because they have won that for now.
You know who it's on though? It's on the parents. Let me explain. So this isn't, I didn't just wake up and be like, I really want to talk about this today. I read the Wall Street Journal pretty much every day. Pat advocates, whether you're left, right, center. That's a great outlet that you can get a lot of information. One of the articles I was reading was about a lady called Peggy Noonan. She's one of the big opinion writers on there.
Writer.
Exactly. She wrote an article about American parents need to teach their children to love America. And she cited this story from 1900. Imagine this happening in New York City today. You ready? In 1900, this was on the heels of the Civil War, you know, two decades after the Civil War ended. Ulysses S. Grant had just died. There's a crazy story about Ulysses S. Grant. At his funeral, there was 4 pallbearers, 2 generals from the Union, 2 generals from the Confederacy. What a symbol. So they introduced this book into New York State. It was called The Manual for Patriotism for the Use of Public Schools in the State of New York. And essentially what they wanted school system to do is do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the Republic of which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, blah, 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 blah. You know the deal. Imagine in New York today them mandating this in New York.
Oh, forget
The
it.
reason they did this was because we're the land of immigrants. We all come from immigrants. Whether it's from Asia, whether it's from the Middle East, whether it's from Latin America, they don't know our culture. They have to come and adapt to our culture. Great, welcome to America. We don't care where you're from. One rule, love America. And now we're seeing what's happening with this TikTok generation. Not only do they not love America, they don't like America, they hate America.
That's right.
And it's so weird to me because it used to be, whether you were a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, yeah, I love America. JFK, ask not what your country can do for you. What can you do for your country? We know the speech. The TikTok generation, blame it on China, TikTok, blame it on the Marxist globalists, blame it on the professors at school, blame it on Klaus Schwab, whatever it is. If you're 25 and under, you've grown up to basically hate America.
Dude,
so bring back the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, my 16-year-old daughter, I watched as I tried to educate her, tried to get her. I watched not only her school, but mainly she got onto social media. That phone will indoctrinate a child. And before I know it, she's talking about this gender spectrum and things like that. And of course, you know me, I lost my mind. but I'm battling Google. I'm battling the software engineers and the people that came out of these elite universities. They've already been indoctrinated. Now they get into a position of power. So that is what's so insidious about this. It's the long march through the institutions. You start when they're very young. I saw them try to do this with my son in a private school in Santa Monica.
You've lived
it.
this,
Ain't
is what
happening,
you're saying.
dude. Yeah. Now, what's interesting, however, is that if you look at the 12-year-old kids, like the boys especially, they're pushing back. It's the strangest thing. I'm telling you, my 12-year-old is like he's a little bit right of Genghis Khan at this point.
Callen,
And I'm like,
You're
bro,
spot on.
what happened?
You know why I'm laughing?
I know exactly who he's talking about.
have you seen the stats about boys versus girls?
No.
In high school?
No.
There's an article from The Hill that's basically confirming exactly what Bryan Callen is saying.
That's right.
There's two things. Number one, the boys are trending more conservative. They're following the Andrew Tates of the world or the PBDs of the world, people that just kind of make sense.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to, there it is. And the girls are becoming more liberal. And I say this all the time. The last thing you ever need is just 5 girls talking.
You mean The
'Cause
View?
They don't,
Like The View?
Yeah, because they don't G-check each other. You're a 10.
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, honey.
100%.
Doesn't matter.
You're
Sometimes
340
it takes a
pounds. You
dude to be
go,
like,
girl.
yeah, I don't know about that, bro.
That's right.
But then there's another stat. This is just
the
straight
one.
up. Yes, boys going more conservative, girls more liberal. But then it goes further. You talk about the religion of LGBTQ, but blah, 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 blah. This is just normal high school kids. Here's what's interesting. They tracked it back, I think, to 2000, I want to say. Boys who identify as LGBTQ, it's gone from like 2% to like 2.5%. Nothing crazy.
Right.
Girls have gone from like 2% to like 20%.
Social contagion.
The girls.
They tend to achieve
Cave,
status.
pressure.
They're very socially aggressive, apparently. And so girls will engage in reputation destruction and things like that. So you've got to be very careful with how you speak. When they play with each other, if there's a disagreement, they'll stop playing. Boys will just barrel ahead and figure
So
it out.
what can the parents do? Pat,
I
Brian?
actually think that I'm way more optimistic. I don't think you can apply this far left authoritarian ideology to the level of detail. And the reason you can't is a couple reasons. When you start talking about gender being a spectrum, for example, I'm a man now, I'm a woman, I've decided. You just don't, there's no way logically to take that scaffolding, sort of that bedrock, there's nothing to anchor into. If everything is my perception and my feeling, we're all over the place. I think that's by design. That was originally by design. The idea behind sort of the Marxist, postmodernist, liberal way of thinking, and I'm not talking about liberal in the old school sense, I'm talking about this new ideology, is not construction, deconstruction. We want to destroy. You've got to tear the institutions down and rebuild them in your Marxist viewpoint to make everything equal.
Isn't that the premise of critical race theory in the 1619 project?
Yes,
Isn't that basically what it is?
Yes, that's why they'll call a black person like Larry Elder a white supremacist, because what they're saying is that you're part of the system that is already propping up, say, whiteness or men or whatever it might be. And so the idea is you've got to tear down the entire institution. Do that by making no sense.
Watch this. We can transition that into a lot of different stories, but I'll go into the best story that maybe makes sense because we're talking about girls here. So NCAA leading scorer Caitlin Clark is only popular because she's white, says race-baiting commentator Jemele Hill. Now let's go to it. Rob, if you want to pull it up. So here we go. Jemele Hill claims Caitlin Clark's popularity is influenced by her race and sexuality, stating we would be very naive if we didn't say race and her sexuality played a role in her popularity. Hill adds, there is a part of it that is a little bit problematic because of what it says about the worth and the marketability of the players who are already there. Hill acknowledges Clark's difficult position in the race debate. In that regard, I feel bad for Caitlin Clark because she didn't ask for any of that, but criticizes Hill for placing this nonsense on Clark's shoulder. Despite Clark's massive platform and impressive achievements, Clark's debuted the most watched game in 23 years with over 2.3 million viewers on ESPN, and mentioning the new chapter flight policy due to security concerns about the megastar Clark. Think about this. 2.2 million, okay? WNBA, 2.2 million. because of a white girl? You think it's because of a white girl? It's because she shoots it lights out from the from the what do you call it, the logo? Yeah, I mean she's like the modern day Steph Curry. You know what's the closest thing she reminds me of? The closest case study. That was an anomaly. Okay, baseball. Is it a white sport? Black sport, Hispanic sport.
Right now, it's a Latino sport, but it used to be white.
Mixed with it's Latino now, but white.
Then white, then black.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
No Middle Easterns. I'm offended. I'm just saying. I want to clarify that. That's out of control.
Please.
But if we go to football, is it white, black, or Hispanic?
Black first,
and then what?
Black first,
Samoan
linemen, and then white people.
White people, right?
Yes.
Okay. If you go to NBA, what is it?
Black, black and European. Black and European white guys.
Serbian.
You're actually right.
Yeah.
So black and Serbian,
Serbian,
Slovenia, some of those guys that are coming.
Luka, Joker.
Except if you're the Dallas Mavericks.
Yes.
They have been the whitest team since 2001. When Mark Cuban bought it,
he
is so committed to DEI. According to The Guardian, for the first 20 years or so that he owned the Mavs, it was the whitest team in the NBA.
DEI.
Mark Cuban, who supports DEI, he has had the whitest team in the NBA for the first 20 years or so of owning the team. Something I'm sure he's very proud of. But if you go to golf, is it white or is it black?
White.
It's white with
Asian.
tiger.
Until one guy showed up.
One guy.
Yeah.
One guy.
He
By
was
the way,
Thai and black and a lot of other.
that's right.
He was a composite.
I've never cared about golf ever.
Nope.
Bro, we're from Iran. You don't give Middle Easterns like a club. You say, hey, go play.
No, you give him a rifle. You say, protect the country.
Yeah. So golf, no one's gonna watch it. Then a Tiger Woods shows up and he's dominating.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're attracted to skin color. We're attracted to dominators.
I was going to say.
Caitlyn dominates the game. So what are your thoughts with some of the stuff that's happened? They're complaining. First, they're complaining that they don't get paid enough money. Then a girl like this shows up that's about to increase everyone's pay, and they're still bitching about it.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, I just think that also keep in mind that Caitlin Clark, there's a lot of white people in this country. And when you see a white person in basketball standing out, it's like, oh, dude, look at her fundamentals. She's unbelievable. Have you ever watched her practice, the things she does?
She's ridiculous.
So there's something about that. Like, people are tribal. Obviously, it's going to stand out. Obviously, you're going to watch someone like Caitlin Clark, who does look very white, and she's like, 6 feet? I mean, she's not dominant physically, and she's that good. It's an anomaly. It's still kind of rare.
But I just hate the fact that everything has to. I don't know if it's for eyeballs or if it's just actual hate. It's like, bro, you nailed it too. Shut up. Like, what are you even talking about? Why does it have to be? Everything has to be about race? Because look what it makes us do. It makes us talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, it makes us even get angrier. But at the end of the day, we're never, because we talked about the flag and God and LGBT. Unless the other side, unless we call out stuff like that and check that person vocally, like make her. Like, have to fess up to her ignorance and her hate. Like, you're not doing anything for the game. You're not doing anything for humanity. You're making, because you know what? Look how we're responding. What about the people that are like, yeah, the hell with that white girl? Like, you're bringing hate and animosity to a girl that's busted her ass to bring, how many million was that, Robbie? 2 million?
Listen, dude, this is intersectionality. That's the idea. You got to break it all into little groups. And you know who's never represented? Dwarves.
They're great at basketball.
Yeah,
they're great.
But I never hear
a little
anybody.
offensive, though. It's a little offensive for you.
But he's being right.
Is dwarf not the right word? Think about being somebody who's very, very small. That's the only group I never hear represented, and I'm not kidding. Peter Dinklage was the only actor.
Because
and
of DEI,
I wish I could turn this.
Callen, you would know about this. I'll get to Caitlin Clark. You're in Hollywood. We've seen you in all the movies. Eddie, we know who you are. You're a star.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, because of DEI, they didn't hire 7 dwarves anymore. Yeah. They needed a fat guy, they needed an Asian guy, they needed a tall guy.
There's a Jamaican guy. There's a huge black guy.
Dwarf, man.
You know what?
What's going on here?
You know they stopped doing that.
Why? But they were doing that.
Yeah, but all the DEI officers in Hollywood were quietly fired. I don't know if you guys know that.
Ooh.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Quiet quitting?
Yeah,
Quiet firing?
they've all lost their jobs because what happened was
they're losing money.
But dude, Hollywood is the ultimate capitalist.
Thank you.
If the country was run by people who run Hollywood, we'd have no problems. They solve problems that fast because it's all about money. And what they do is they go, hey, dude, hey, guys, this whole DEI thing, it's not working.
Right.
I know very big directors who stepped off movies, big movies, tentpole movies, because they wrote a character, for example, who was in a wheelchair or maybe a handicap, and the notes were something to the akin of, hey, that person can't be that way. They have to be empowered. Well, no, they don't have legs.
Yeah.
So, and it's not working. It's not working for my movie, bro.
Play basketball
and they were
with no
like,
legs.
sorry. And this is what they were dealing with. So what happens, obviously, is when they start losing hundreds of millions of dollars, they're like, hey, this ain't you.
Right.
Out.
Yeah, well,
Oh, by the way, just to clarify, you said hundreds of millions of dollars. Brother, they're not losing hundreds of millions of dollars. They're losing hundreds of billions of
Is that
dollars.
true?
Yep.
So
I don't know.
the Disney stock went from $380 billion market cap to 180.
Okay, but let me ask you this. How much of that is because streaming got sort of atomized?
No, streaming, they were killing it on streaming.
Yeah.
The market is just getting sick of it. The market's getting sick of what they're doing. And they're
fairy godmother was a man.
Yeah, the market just, and by the way, let me just say this. If you're on this story, I think we've already transitioned to go into Hollywood.
I just want to say one thing about, it's bringing it back to Caitlin Clark. I was so freaking offended last year when Kendrick Perkins, NBA analyst, was like, the only reason that the Joker, Jokic, was an MVP candidate is because he's white. He just won his third MVP in a row.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so this
Is that what they said? Who said that?
Kendrick Perkins. So it was who basically, if he's a big dude, if I ever run him in the street, I'll probably not say it to his face. Online, I'll say it easily. This guy was a fledgling NBA career center, not a big deal. The Joker won an NBA championship last year. He basically said Joel Embiid should get it. Embiid's an amazing player. But stop. This guy's incredible. Yeah. That's like Tom Brady. The only reason that he's getting success is because he's white. Otani, the only success that he's getting is Asian.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do I have a reputation for defending LeBron James?
Not really. No.
Okay, I do not. Rob, can you pull up the clip I just texted you, if you have it? You know, the one I just sent you. Here's what LeBron James just said. Go ahead and play this clip. This is him with Reddick, which, you know, Reddick's interviewing LeBron regularly because he trusts him. Go ahead and play this clip.
He might be his coach, actually.
The one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport,
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
more people want to watch.
There you go.
More people want to tune in. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it fucked up. Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA.
Dude, good for you, LeBron.
But for her individually, I don't think she should get involved on nothing that's being said. Just go have fun, enjoy. You know, but I'm rooting for Caitlin because I've been in that seat before. I've walked that road before. I hope she kills.
You can pause it right here. Listen, got to give him credit.
Awesome.
Good for you, bro, for saying something like that.
Yes.
The fact that, because, you know, he knows what it's like to come in, and from the moment you're getting all that criticism, he relates to him from that side. But I'm glad he didn't use any race baiting card and say anything like that.
I thought that's what was going to happen.
I'm actually impressed with the position he took.
This is why I love comedy. Comedy, you either have it or you don't. A couple things you can't fake: fighting, dancing, and comedy. Try faking those things. People will find that out right. You're either funny or you got it. Try dancing if you can't dance. Try getting in a ring if you can't. You know, you're going to get knocked out. I love the truth. And there are certain things you can do that you cannot. I don't care who your agent is. I don't care how much hype you have behind you. Do you have the goods or don't you? And if you don't, I've seen famous actors try to do comedy. It gets quiet quick.
Yeah. So let me go to the next story. By the way, before I get to the next story, just want to let some of you guys know, out of the numbered hats, 250, 108 is already gone in the first 30 minutes of an hour. 108 is gone of the hats being ordered. So if you haven't yet ordered yours, go get one of the numbered hats. And by the way, the only shirt I officially work out in is these. This is all I wear. It's the most comfortable shirt I've ever had for sports, working out, all of it. And I've had many by far. So get the PBD podcast, Valuetainment, Future Looks Bright, when you're ordering these as well. Let me continue. Okay, so we talked Disney briefly, right? Here's what's going on with Disney. Disney bleeding Pixar, slashes 14% of workforce amid brutal budget cuts. Okay, let's see what's going on with Disney, because this is Hollywood, and this is something you can speak on. The once mighty Pixar is laying off 14% of its workforce at the Walt Disney, as Walt Disney continues to make brutal budget cuts across its many businesses. Pixar Animation Studios is slashing about 175 jobs due to its large part to Disney Plus reducing the number of series it is putting out. According to a Deadline report, earlier estimates had put the layoffs closer to 20%. The cuts come after Pixar laid off 75 jobs earlier this year, putting 2 executives behind a box office flop. Lightyear CEO Bob Iger recently acknowledged Disney massively overspent on streaming content in an attempt to draw more subscribers to Disney Plus and its other services, causing the company to lose billions of dollars. Thoughts on this?
My thoughts on this are this. I think, first of all, to make a movie like any Pixar movie is so difficult. It's so difficult. And I think we are suffering creatively as a result of all these sort of enforced notions of inclusion, etc. I'm going to go back. I think to create some of the movies that all of us love. I just watched, what's that time machine? Hot Tub Time Machine? Mm-hmm. You couldn't make that movie today. It was so irreverent. And there were so many, sort of, what's the word? Triggering words and things like that I know that they would leave those out, and they were a huge part of the comedy. And I think in order to be creative and in order to write these amazing movies, you have to be in a room where everything is allowed, where you're allowed to be absolutely irreverent, insulting, dangerous with your ideas. You've got to be able to throw everything up on the wall. And we used to have that in a writer's room. Writers' rooms were outrageous. It was like people would be like, if somebody recorded this, we'd probably be put on against the wall and shot. You have to do that. Comedy, when it comes to stand-up, one of the things I loved about the Tom Brady roast was for the first time, and thank God to Netflix, they were up there doing the craziest, most irreverent things in the world. And people went, oh, that works. Oh yeah, that's what it takes to be funny. Yeah. And listen, let me give you another example. And people talk about the men and good old boy networks and all that stuff. Cool. Ready for this? Where do you think all these things start? Who created the tech industry? A bunch of dudes in their garages. No women, just a bunch of guys who are probably interested in their tummy and they were doing everything so that they could get laid. UFC. Did the UFC start with a bunch of politically correct men and women and inclusion? Nah, it just started with a bunch of outlaws. The X Games, how'd that start? Just a bunch of outlaws. These are subcultures. These were outlaw subcultures of men, of groups of men competing, trying to kill each other, and also cooperating well. And it gave us, some of the most, that is what our economy is built on. Our economy and our art and our artistic expression. Hollywood. How was Hollywood created? It was created by a bunch of European refugee Jews, men, cutthroat, who said, you know what? Let's tell stories. Why don't we tell the great stories? And some of the greatest writers, some of the greatest musicians, some of the greatest producers, the people that put everything together and created the stories that we stay alive for. The cornerstone of our American culture is what? Is the movie, are the great movies we all talk about. Good old boy networks. Boys, men getting together, competing, cooperating, trying to beat each other. That's what it was about. Let me tie that into your book. I'm going to give you a compliment, all right? I read a lot. And I was worried about reading your book because I like you so much. And I didn't want to read it and kind of be like, man, Patrick, he's going to write a book. I got to read it. He's my boy. I'm going to say this. I'm an old man now. I'm older than you are. And I rarely read things where I learn something new. A lot of times it's a reiteration. It's what happens as you get older. I never thought that having enemies and embracing and dilating down on who my enemies are was something that could help me and motivate me. I was always trying to say I don't have any enemies because that was bad. I was always trying to say to myself, don't think about that. Don't try to be as competitive as you naturally are. I read that book, dude, and I got to tell you, what a gift, because I went, choose your enemies wisely. Your enemies, I thought to myself, I'm going to embrace the people that I think that I just can't stand, that screwed me over. I've never done that. I'm going to embrace the fact that it bothers me that, in my opinion, I'm a pretty good comic. Vinny, by the way, Vinny and I are going to be at the Danny Improv tonight, 2 shows, tomorrow 2 shows, and Rob's going to be there too.
Rob's going to be there right away.
And then Sunday. But I'm going to embrace the fact that some people are doing better, and it bothers me. I never, ever was that way. I fought that tooth and nail. And I read your book. I looked at my wife, and I swear to God, and I said to her, I go, this book has just changed the way I'm going to move forward. I'm serious, bro. So what a gift. I
love it.
I can't believe I read a book from somebody, and I'm telling you, I got to read it. And that was a gift. So I'm kissing your ass a little bit right now, but that's all I'm going to say about the book. I'm going to say that was a new idea. It was something that I always resisted. And after reading it, I have now embraced it, and it is my fuel. I woke up pumped. And so thank you.
I feel the fire. I don't know what
I'm telling you.
I love it.
I'm telling you.
That's great to hear.
It's your enemies are your best friend. That's your fuel. Choose your enemy. And it doesn't have to be a person. That's the other thing I got from the book. It does not have to be in person. That story you tell about your father is so moving to me because I love my father. Yeah. And that humiliation that you felt for that great man that you still love. That's a movie, dude. That's a movie. That's how it starts. That was that thing that caught you where you just went. And what motivates you? Love. Deep admiration and love for a man who never even saw you because he was always gone. What was he doing? The other thing you said I love is he was out there slaying dragons. Don't have time for you. I can't see you, but I love you. And you know, my father was the same way. I didn't see my dad a lot, but I knew at the end of the day that he was out there slaying dragons for me. And that's what mattered to me.
My man.
That's it. So anyway, thank you. That's the book.
That's sick.
Back to what I was saying about good old boy networks. Back to what I was saying about being outlaws. Back to what I was saying about why competition is so important, because competition, when you have enemies, when you have people you're trying to beat, what does that do? It also bonds you to the team that you are forming that is going to war with those people. Yeah. There's nothing more bonding than when you're up against it. It creates that thing called oxytocin. They figured that out in combat. That's why men who've been to combat, forget it. They're bonded for life.
It's so crazy you're saying that, right? That when you have a similar passion and emotion about an enemy, and you find others like that, good luck trying to go up against people like that. Just yesterday, right? Bronx. I don't know if you watch any of the interviews when they're talking to people. Did you see some of those?
Of the New Yorkers in the Bronx.
Is this the highlight? Is this what it looked like? Or is this the interview?
This is just the crowd. I can play this while I look for.
People don't realize New York is, I'm from New York. New York is conservative. And you got a lot of people. If they tried to invade, if anybody tries to invade the United States, come through like Seattle, please. Come up through don't try to come to the Eastern Seaboard.
Or Florida.
Too many roided out Italians and Irish dudes. They got baseball bats in their trunk. They're going to be like,
sure.
You ever been to Yonkers?
Yeah.
Forget about it.
You coming over with your destroyer ship? Come over here right now. I'll brain you.
Show that highlight real quick, and then go into one of the clips. Go ahead and show this.
A lot of people of color, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people of color.
Yep.
I'm having a hard time finding a white guy.
Oh, there they are.
Okay, there's one. There's another one.
Where's the
wow, look at this. Look for white people.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's one.
That is white. There's a Secret Service. At least one of them is there.
Yeah. Look at DJT. Chilling. Well, imagine that job those Secret Service.
But I'm going to tell you what's wild. This is the one. Whoever's is this. So there is interviews, Rob. There's interviews where people are talking to and saying, so, hey, why are you here? Matter of fact, it's the one with the go a little lower, Rob. Go a little lower. There was, okay, right there, the pink color lady. No, one right there. Watch this. Play this.
Where are you from? The Bronx, actually.
I'm originally from the Bronx and from New York.
I'm from the Bronx.
Right here in the Bronx, New York. This is home, right here.
AOC says if you're not a Democrat, you don't belong here in the Bronx. Right. What do you say?
I disagree with that.
I don't think she should be here in the Bronx. I actually don't know any Democrats living in the Bronx.
Look, AOC, look at the tremendous support for Mr. Donald J. Trump. You need to tell her then she need to stay out the Bronx because look at all the people around. Everybody's here for Trump. I am a Democrat. And I belong here.
Oh, snap.
I know what you're voting for.
They need to vote AOC.
Donald J. Trump.
What has AOC done for the Bronx?
She's done nothing for the Bronx. Nothing. Nothing's changed. Nothing's gotten any better.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Let her come to the Bronx and let her come among us people that struggle. She doesn't even know what struggle is.
Oh, snap. Puerto Rican girl going crazy,
See what
So the question becomes, why'd you vote her, though?
happens?
Why'd you vote? Adam's got a good point. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, well, let's just see if they vote her out. But can I tie this all in? Because I'm going to pay you respect right now. You just paid him respect. this all comes that you talked about Disney. We talked about having the ability as a comic or even as a writer to try new things out, to offend people. You know, a week ago, we had Vivek on the podcast, and that was when it was going viral, when Ann Coulter was like, yeah, I wouldn't vote for you because you're a brown Indian guy. What?
Ann Coulter said that?
To his face.
To his face.
Ann.
To his
Because
face.
he's Hindu and she doesn't
And you know
want
what
a
he did?
non-Christian.
You know what he did, bro? He goes, yeah, it's fine. I'm cool. And it made me think,
Smart guy.
because in that episode, we talked about a few things. One of the things that we played, we could probably play this clip, was Seinfeld getting booed as he was giving the commencement speech at Duke, I believe, and people laughed and he's getting booed. He goes, hey guys, life ain't easy. You know, what do the Buddhists say? 70% of life is struggle.
Yeah.
You gotta have a sense of humor. Take a joke. We've seen over the last decade or so, people are so soft. They get so offended so easily.
Humorless.
There's no, have a sense of humor. Yeah. Why am I bringing this up to Bryan Callen? I went and I said, what are the top 100 funniest movies of all time? Do you know the last funniest movie of the top 100 that was made? Of the top 100, Blazing Saddles, Old School, this, that, every funny movie. You know the last one that was made?
What's that?
You were in it, bro. 2009, The Hangover. Yeah. Check IMDb. Every movie. 1972, A Black Sheriff, The Blazing Saddles. Oh my God, The History of the World. You know, the most hilarious movies of all time. Trading Places,
by the way,
Coming to America, 2009. What am I saying? Yeah. Since 2010, no funny movies were made.
People are
we can't
afraid.
offend. We can't have cancel culture. We're going to get canceled.
Do you know what?
And they're so worried, and you have to take chances. You have to take risks. It's for people to boo you and not like you, and that's what they're not willing to do now.
Todd Phillips, who wrote and directed The Hangover, I don't know, a couple movies like Joker, like Old School, Bad Santa, nobody knows that. Page One Rewrite, that was his movie. A genius. Todd Phillips is a genius. And when he after The Hangover was a huge hit, you'll love this because this goes right back to choose your enemies wisely. I said to him, what motivates you, dude? What motivates? Because I was in the car with him while we were driving in Montreal to, he was setting up Due Date. So he was talking about actors and stuff. It was pretty cool to listen to him talk to the brass, you know. I said, what is it that motivates you? And he goes, revenge. Fuck these bitches. That's what he said. I go, what do you mean? I'm sorry, Todd, if I'm speaking concerned. He goes, because he was trying to get Old School 2 done. Yeah. And everybody was like, I'm busy. No. And he was like, oh, wait, you guys don't want to do the sequel to the best movie ever? Old School?
The last hilarious
How about this, guys?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to write a movie called The Hangover with nobody you know. I'm going to cast... I remember he called me about Zach Galifianakis. He goes, is that guy funny? I go, he's the funniest guy on the planet. He goes, his eyes make me laugh. I go, hire him. I'm not saying he hired him because of that, but I remember. So he basically said, how about I write a movie on my own, and then I'll just, with my buddy Scott, and then I'm just gonna hire a guy named Bradley Cooper. No one knew. Wow. No one knew. I'll put this guy Zach Galifianakis in there. No one knows. Wow. Ed Helm. No one knows. And then I'm gonna take no money. I'll take no money. I remember I said, how much you making? I said, well, I was shooting the movie. I go, how much you making for this? He goes, you're making more than I am. I was making like $2,000 or something. I was like, what? I was like, what? He goes, I know. I'm getting the back end. And I thought to myself, I go, you're so crazy. You're not going to get money from the back end. Nobody knows these people. Nobody knows anybody. It's 2007. Nobody knows them. And he was like, whatever. Wow. Sorry about the Old School 2, guys. So right back to that. That's what motivates.
Wonder where Pedro is now at this point.
But Brian, let me ask you a question though. So it has been since 2010,
Carlos.
like Adam.
Carlos, my bad. Sorry to culture appropriate.
That Adam pointed out. Okay, Carlos. Do you think it's going to start to change? Because I mean, we're being optimistic that with the future being bright, or does it? Because I mean, like, think about it. If you have a funny product, Brian, we've read scripts. You read a script and it's hilarious, and yes, it's going to be art. It's going to be pushing the envelope. It has to be like an undeniable thing for Hollywood, or does a new Hollywood have to be built for us to do our own shit?
No. We'll get back to it. Look, comedy and art disturbs. Comedy and art disturb. Mm-hmm. They're writing love notes. Comedy and art, they have to disturb. Good art is supposed to shake you out of your complacency.
When's the first time you watched Hangover?
I watched it.
Did you watch it with like Bradley and everybody, or when did you watch it?
So nobody's going to believe me, but I didn't go. I didn't go to the premiere, and I watched it. I watched it once, and I've never watched it again.
Tell me you're joking.
And not only am I not joking, I've never seen Hangover 2 all the way through. I can't watch myself. I get too.
You're like
I hate everything about what I do.
Oh, bro, let me tell you, me, I'm telling you, you stole the show. I don't know if you understand this. I'm telling you, like, if I tell you what scenes I remember, I remember the number one scene I remember when they show up to the what do you call it? He's like, you motherfucker, when you put the hand on the face. I've seen that thing on repeat.
Well, that's why Todd started laughing so hard, because I said to him, instead of being from New York, the guy was Eddie from New York. He was supposed to be a guy like, you don't remember me? What happened? It's a different kind of, it's a different kind of tempo. It's a little bit more macho. I said, dude, he owns a wedding chapel. That's an Armenian, that's a Lebanese guy, that's someone who can get you anything. I'm always selling something, you know?
Brother.
And I because I lived in Lebanon, I said, so in the reading, I said that. He started laughing when I even did that. He started going, do that, in the reading. So it's all of us like, that's where, we were doing all the actors and stuff like that. And when I get shot, all I did was I went, I swore in Arabic. And they all fell out. That means your mother's a whore. I got shot, and they all fell out, and that was it. Todd was like, "That's it. Do that character."
So good.
Yeah,
Callen. You don't. When people are like, "Oh, Bryan Callen's," who's Bryan Callen? I'm like, I show them. Oh, I love that guy.
Yep.
It's such a memorable scene. But this is the reason. Circling back to Disney and everything, the whole cultural appropriation. If this movie was made today, they'd be like, are you even Armenian?
Well, let's ask
Are you
that.
even Lebanese?
But let's ask that.
Yeah.
Let's ask that. So why can't you make this movie today?
You can now.
Yeah, I think you can.
Think you can now. If it's fun.
Now.
Yes.
But what about the last 2, 4, 5, 10 years?
Because there was so much, first of all, there was so much pressure, and most importantly, please understand and remember that you could lose your livelihood, and people did. And I'll give you one example. The guy who was high up in Netflix, what he was saying was that he was using the N-word as an example of what not to say. He was saying, we cannot say this word, and he was saying the word. And he was admonishing people about the word and why you can't use the word. A black executive said he felt uncomfortable in the meeting, and that guy was fired publicly and very publicly just for saying the word, and that you shouldn't say the word. And everyone in that room knew what he was saying. So it no longer became even about the intention. It became just the word itself. That's directly out of the universities. And you see this far left, insane and destructive and frankly evil ideology that now started to permeate. That's why you started getting people to say, she's a woman, because trans women are women. You don't know that. You're just saying that because that's what you've heard, and you're aping it. You're parroting it.
Was that
and
for
that
the movie
started
The
happening.
Hangover?
Look, I'm going to tell you what started happening, because I have friends who are creating shows. In the writer's room, how about this? Somebody comes up with an idea. Okay, so you're a Syrian. You're from, you grew up in Iran, and you come up with an idea. Not a good idea. And I go like this, and I'm running the writer's room, and I go, that doesn't work. Let's try. Well, guess what? Sorry, that's my experience. That's my lived experience. It's my lived experience, and you just devalued my lived experience. So it is going to go in, and if it doesn't go in, I'm going to stage a protest. This was what writers were having to deal with.
There's no way that's what.
Brother, I'm telling you, I have friends who told me, I know a friend who's a big time.
Can you imagine?
I'd be furious.
This was a story that came out from a very, very well-known, a friend of mine who's created a lot of shows. And he goes, dude, I got to be careful in the room. I can't even tell these people that are hired. These people are just all hired there. They have no track record at all. But remember what they were doing. What is DEI? They were enforcing. What you do is you just put people in. That's what you do. You have to enforce that. You have to enforce equality. It's not equality of what? It's not equality of opportunity. It's equality of outcome. Right?
Yeah. So you said when is it going to happen again? We're going to have to see it in the theaters. You talked about The Hangover, the opening scene or whatever, when he goes, paging doctor.
Yeah.
Starts with an F. Imagine saying that.
But
so,
you know what?
You know when we'll actually get When are they going to have another Hangover? When are they going to have another Old School?
It'll be an accident.
When are they going to have
It'll be an
another
accident.
Wedding Crashers, another Knocked Up, another Step Brothers, another Superbad? Until that happens.
Let's before we transition to the next one. Top 3 favorite comedy movies of all time.
Damn.
Top 3.
Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, and Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Wow.
What do you
Of
put?
all-time comedy.
Vinny, you're a movie guy.
Holy crap. Dumb and Dumber.
Mine's going to be very simple.
Wait, hold on. I think, wow, funny of all time. Damn it.
Mine's going to be simple.
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
I almost was going to put Airplane. I'll put Airplane in front
Airplane's
of.
a great movie.
I'll put Airplane in front of Spaceballs.
So
and I'm not going to front.
Airplane.
Wedding Crashers is up there.
Okay,
with me.
for me, it's Wedding Crashers, Couples Retreat, Hangover.
Couples.
Wow.
All right, Patrick,
I
listen to
can't
me.
watch
Patrick, and
I told you
you're not
guys, I'm
allowed
going to
to say couples
disappoint you.
reason- Yeah. You're not saying that. I need you to go home and watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail and Life of Brian. You ever seen them?
No.
Okay, well we have to get. I got to get you more
Help.
film
I need
literate.
help. I need help.
I'm going to make you lists because I need you more film literate.
Okay.
You're a very busy man, so you don't have time. I get it.
Listen, I'm a movie guy, but you have to realize I came to the States November 28, 1990.
That's why, yeah.
So for me, I've skipped, guys. You know,
Yeah.
you tell me
skipped a lot.
basketball players 88.
He's got them all.
I'm 1990 is what I am.
That's fair.
But
That's fair.
Adam, what's yours?
That's fair.
The hardest I've ever laughed in a movie is in Old School when you got a dart in your neck.
Yeah.
That scene.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Okay, are you kidding me? And
Yeah.
Pat, you'll appreciate Borat. High five.
Yeah.
Great movie.
I mean, are you kidding me?
You got to give it up.
Sasha,
And great
it's,
movie.
My favorite movie, I don't know if it's a comedy, a drama, whatever. It's like, the camera guy's crying. I don't know why you're crying.
Yeah, yeah.
Swingers.
Yeah,
Vince
oh,
Vaughn.
great.
Most underrated. What the hell happened to the legend of
that's a
all
good one.
time?
Can I ask you,
Vince
can I
Vaughn.
ask you a question before we move on? That's the hardest he's left. What's the hardest moment? Doesn't have to be a movie. When's the hardest moment that you've ever laughed in your life? Do you two know? Because I'll tell me mine while you guys think. My cousin, I got a white VHS of the Jerky Boys, and I'm a child. I'm listening.
I
to
knew
it.
that guy. One of those.
Bro, I am not joking because we couldn't listen to
Pablo,
it.
honey.
Pablo, honey, you
Please
watching
come
your
to
ass?
Florida.
PBD, I am, guys,
Pablo,
I'm
come
crying.
to
My
Florida.
mom runs in. She goes, what happened? She thought I was like crying, like in pain. And my cousin's like, don't, because we weren't allowed to hear cuss words. It was the hardest I've ever laughed in my life. Do you remember that?
So I'm calling because I want to buy a tennis ball machine. And is it okay if we put some
Put the potatoes in it, put some Vaseline on them, and if you guys haven't heard Jerky Boys, put greatest hits. What's the hardest you've laughed?
Rizzo.
Frank Rizzo,
All
his
right,
sizzle
DPO.
chest.
What do you think,
That's
Brian?
so
Go
good.
ahead, Dick
Frank
Callen.
Rizzo, I'll bash your head with a ratchet. It's so funny. That was incredible. That's a good call. For me, I mean, I'm just going to give a shout out to Dave Attell. It might have been when I saw Dave Attell when he was younger, and I'd never seen that kind of comedy. Like I was like, if I gotta be that kind, I don't know how to write that kind of comedy. Like I think it was 1993, 94, and I was with my girlfriend at the time, and we were, I mean, I was dying. He's such a genius. Like when what got him to the dance is, well, he's the comic.
Yeah.
He's the comics comic. We used to just sit there and watch him. Like Artie Lang tells a story about, he would just do crazy things. It'd be like Tuesday, 12 a.m. at the Comedy Cellar, like 4 alcoholics in the room. And he'd be like, you guys are probably wondering what I'm doing here at Tuesday at 12 a.m. At the Comedy Store in front of 4 alcoholics. I'm not a comic. I've just lost my daughter. Nadine! Nadine! He would just do the
Just
weirdest
in the
things.
moment. I love it. I love
What was
it.
his show that he did, Insomniac?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was
So good.
But he was so unbelievably funny.
All right, let's transition to the next story here. So I saw this statistic that I don't know about you guys. To me, every once in a while I see certain data that just gets me leveled. This thing for me was absolutely insane. Rob, can you pull up the type in fertility rate WSJ? We've talked about this, but we have not talked about this specific data. I want to show this to you. Go all the way down to 3 charts below. Keep going down, keep going down, keep going down. If you go 3 charts below, are you on Wall Street Journal, Rob?
Yeah,
or
but
no?
I'm blocked.
Okay, so let me send you the story here that I have because I'm not. You know
You're
what?
blocked by the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, what happened?
Rob, what happened?
Rob, what the hell did you do to them?
By the way, you know what it's about? Let me tell you what it's about. It's about how many people die per year to how many people are born every year. So you're like, okay, it's not a big deal. This number shouldn't be a crazy number here. I'm going to take a screenshot. That's not it, Rob. Hang tight before I give it to you.
This is the case with so many different developed countries.
This guys, when you
major
you would think this is another country, but it's actually America is that we're looking at here. Let me see if I can even send it to you, Rob.
That's why Europe has no choice but to import all that labor. They're not sustaining their populations.
Oh, damn.
And that's why people are like, well, Europe is turning into this, that, and the other thing. Well, they're not reproducing enough to
watch this one here. Rob, if you can pull this up. You got both of them. I send it to you on your phone and your tech and your computer. So this chart here shows from 50. Rob, did you get it? From 1930, you're pulling it up. From 1930 till today, how many kids are born every year to how many people die every year? Zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
Vinny, look at this. So in 1960, roughly 4.3 kids were being born every year.
Okay.
And in 1960, 1.7 million people were dying every year. So your net positive was 2.6 million. Look at it today. 3.6 million kids are 3.6 million people born in 2023.
Wow.
But look at the death. This is post-COVID, by the way. We're not talking 2021, 2022. It's 3.1 million. So we went from being net positive by 2.6 million down to 500,000 more people being born than dying. Okay? You look unbelievable. Yeah, fertility rate for us is at 1.6.
Yeah. Nobody's having kids.
Nobody's having kids.
And men aren't getting married until they're 40 and 50 or not even married at all because there's access to all that for a lot of, it's a disaster.
What's the risk for this? So when you look at this, I just want natural, immediate reaction. What's your first reaction when you see something like this?
In my opinion, I don't think we're going to have young people who can support our older people and support our economy. I think that's what kind of happens. That's certainly what's happening in Europe. I mean, Germany's birth rate has been zero negative. So what they've had to do is import. That's why there are so many Turks, for example, in Germany. And so people say, well, we're losing our culture. Well, you don't have enough people to preserve your traditional culture. Your traditional culture is literally dying off. The indigenous people, quote unquote, of Germany, for example, or what you would think of as German, is simply just not able to sustain itself. So to keep the economy going, a huge economy like that, you have to bring in young people from other countries who are motivated, and that's what's going on. So when they say things like Islam is the fastest growing religion in Europe, part of that is just because a lot of young Islamic people from Islamic countries are coming in because there's work. Mm-hmm. Because there's work. Because nobody wants to talk about this, but in Europe, they need that labor. When you're in England, the people that are building your house are probably going to be from Poland and Hungary and Bulgaria because that's where the work is coming from. And then they import from other parts of the world as well. So,
and by the way, did you see that article too? Because we're talking about fertility and men, and there's an article I just sent Rob on New York Post that microplastics found in testicles and blood clots are sparking health concerns, and they're saying that the microplastics are making their way into various humans and animal bodies, including testicles, and their implications they're dangerous for our sperm fertility. Rob,
not for mine. Not for mine.
You, but
my sperm moves them out of the way like they're floating in a pool.
Four kids.
Dead guys, and for like when they're doing their autopsies or whatever, and dogs, they found that from cadavers of people in ages 16 to 88, they found that ours had 3 times more plastic in our testicles that are really dangerous levels that are affecting us having children too. It's insane. And the photo that they showed in there, Rob, there's one of the photos. It's just like microscopic stuff that's sitting in our from microwaving and plastic and water bottles as it has.
That makes sense.
Look at that. Like that type of.
We eat like a credit card a year.
You eat a credit card? No, I thought it was a week.
Maybe a week.
I thought it was a week, but it's
here.
And it's everything, Brian. It's that. It's the culture. It's the it's.
Pat, this is very similar to the story we did about a week ago with the
list
population.
of 12, 13 reasons.
The reasons, it's funny because everyone had their reasons. Vinny was like, well, maybe because it's the jab, whatever. Everyone had their kind of thing. And I just was like, it's baby mama culture. It's feminism. What's going on. It's a working women. It's what's going on around the world. It's traditional values decline, everything talked about. But then there was a glaring omission on my part, and it was abortions. And who would have think that birth control, you ready? Breaking news, controls birth.
That's interesting.
And the amount of abortions, I mean, Kanye has gone crazy on
Did that guy connect you and bring this up or no? The guy from insurance? Because he said, you guys talk about what you talk about today. You guys didn't talk about birth control. I said, connect Adam.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
But I'll get back to you in a few days. But yeah, abortions, listen, despite contrary belief, the women are 100% of the times having the babies.
Yeah.
So we could say all these things we want about men.
Define a woman.
Exactly.
Adam,
I don't know.
You're not
it's
like
hard to do.
You ever hear this theory?
It's hard to do.
You ever hear this really interesting theory? So men in prison, I think they did this study. A lot of men in prison, long-term prisoners, have higher sperm counts. And also they found that they were like, a lot of men get jacked in jail. Like you lift weights, but you're not eating, eating a lot of starchy food. But a lot of guys,
they got a lot of time
jacked
on their hands.
No, it's not. They don't. This is interesting. I don't know if this is true. It's an interesting theory. Well, jail's a dangerous place. And as a man, you're always on guard. And you always have to be ready to fight. Yeah. And what that does is it keeps your testosterone levels spiked. It actually increases your testosterone levels. So they think maybe that's the reason people put on, I don't know, but it's an interesting theory. That might be one of the reasons they put weight, so much muscle on quickly in jail. When you're in a dangerous situation, you're gonna evolve to put, more. And when we live in a society where you're never going to get punched in the face, you're never going to be physically assaulted because, there are cameras and stuff. I mean, sometimes you will, but for the most part, most of us feel pretty safe. Like if you look at like back in the 50s and the 60s, even the 70s when I grew up, like in the 80s, you could go to a bar and nobody had cameras out. You could get your ass kicked before anybody jumped in. Yeah. And you always knew that there was a situation where you might have to use your hands. I mean, my friends would never go out without shoes they could move in. They were going to go out and, there was always that sort of like paranoia. And I just wonder sometimes if just the fact that everybody's got a camera in their hand, that everybody is basically always being watched. People feel a lot safer today than they did. I wonder if that has anything to do with it's my bro science.
But
theory.
I like the theory though, and maybe we could test it here, Pat. We'll put out a Slack and be like, hey, listen. If Vinny sees you, he's going to punch you in your face.
Damn,
maybe people just start getting
survival.
I'm very happy
survival
with
of the fittest.
With his
this guy is jacked up.
Well, by the way, May 31st, 1 year no alcohol.
Sober.
He's at 33 days, I think, 34 days.
I do.
How many days?
Patrick?
Yeah, on Monday it'll be 35 days.
Is that why your face is so radiant?
I don't know, man.
He's glowing.
I'm just happy to see you.
I don't drink. I
don't miss it at all. And it's not like Vinny, if I may. Vinny admittedly had sort of a drinking problem.
I mean, I drink.
You can take sorta out of that.
Okay, yeah. I don't.
Why don't you go ahead and take sorta out of that?
I don't want to put my guy Vinny stuff out there,
but I call him. Yeah. I go. I call him periodically. I go, dude, you look phenomenal. I didn't recognize.
You know, the first time I took him out in Miami.
I tried to beat up literally his best friend and everybody. I was
and
trying
a couple
to kill
girls.
everybody.
I was like, Vinny.
I've said this. I've said this before. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Vinny is one of the most talented comics ever, period.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, I'm saying this, and it puts responsibility on him. He has greatness inside of him. And that's why, when I came here to do comedy, I don't like following this guy. I can follow anybody.
Remember the last,
I don't like
the last
following
thing we
the
did
dude.
in Aventura? It's incredible.
I don't like following the man.
It was awesome.
I can follow anybody. I followed everybody from Chris Rock to Seinfeld, you name it. I followed everybody. I don't like following that guy. It takes me, I got to dig myself out of a hole. He's that funny. I'm not kidding. So we'll be at the Dania Improv.
Yeah,
I love it. Choose your enemies. Well, I'm not your enemy, but I'm gonna,
bro.
But you know what?
He puts me on notice.
But can I say something though? Can I say something about that?
I want to watch him. I don't want to go back on stage.
That's why I only open for Vinny these days.
But Pat, and then just 30 seconds. This type of comic though, like I want the real people out there that are listening to say that and do that. People do not want anybody shining in front of them before you take the stage.
It's true.
You remind me of Damon Wayans Sr. Damon Wayans Sr. used to tell me, Vinny, you go up there and you freaking kill them because you're going to make me have to step on my game.
That's how I look at it. You make the show better.
100%.
Yeah, most people would never have you. You're actually a nightmare for anyone. And I don't care who it is. You're a nightmare because you just kill the room too much. But Rogan's the same way. Rogan's the same way. Rogan wants the funniest MFs up there.
In front of it, and then he goes up and does an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew had this guy that came up, Mark, who told the funniest story, man. I mean, he was fantastic. He says, look, everybody asked me, he says, why would you marry somebody as a, I'm telling this joke, but he says, why would you marry somebody as a, virgin? you've never been with anybody. I says, no, it's true. I've never been with anybody. He says, so how do you know if you're good in bed or not? How do you, you don't know. You've only been with one girl. He says, no, listen, I don't have a problem. I come every time. My wife's got to figure it out.
I'm good at sex.
I'm good at sex.
Every time.
He's got I couldn't stop laughing. He was so funny.
I know what I'm doing.
All right, next story. Logan Paul, Prime, sues Ryan Garcia for defamation. Logan Paul's going head-to-head with Ryan Garcia, but not in a ring, but or the WWE. The WWE superstar, Prime Hydration, just hit the boxer with a defamation lawsuit. The Maverick aired his frustration on social media just minutes ago, claiming his drink company is under attack by false narratives being thrown around on social media, and it's time to take action, with King Ryan being the first on the list. Today we begin to hold those accountable who've damaged our brand for attention while we correct the narrative. Paul said on Instagram, we're here to stay and will continue to change the world of hydration with bold flavors and creative innovation. In a lawsuit, Prime lays out Garcia's alleged wrongdoing, pointing out on a social media rant about how the drink will kill your guy's sick brains, mess up your guy's liver, and hurt you big time, among other harmful side effects, without supporting the claims. Okay, so what do you know about Prime Drink, Vinny or Brian? What do you guys know?
I've tried it twice, and both times it was nasty. I didn't like the taste. I didn't like any. And by the way, I heard in one drink the caffeine level is ridiculous. I can't handle that type of caffeine, but I wasn't a fan at all. I mean, marketing and all that stuff, obviously, but what's actually in it is.
Rob, can you go to the WAPO story? I just texted it to you.
Have you heard, Patrick, because as a businessman, you'd appreciate this. I had somebody explain this. I don't know if I'm right, but I had a guy who's in the know who is a business guy. So when you have a drink like Prime, one of the things is you build recognition the way they've done a great job of doing. So without going into it, I'm probably not going to drink. I'm not. My kids usually like Prime. I think for me, if it's not an organic protein shake, as you can tell, I ain't touching it, or raw milk. But one of the things I'll do is this. There are 4 beverage companies. Pepsi, Coca-Cola, I think it's Dr. Pepper, and LA Luminary, something like that. There are 4 major, and they have shelf space. And on that truck, they have a slot, an empty sort of space on that truck. You buy that, you can buy space on that truck, and then you can buy shelf space to put your new drink on there. Now watch this. This is what I'm not saying Prime does this, I'm just saying this is what some beverage companies will do. I didn't know this. I got a beverage company. It's gonna cost me, start out $250 million no matter what. I gotta buy shelf space in different supermarkets. I gotta buy space on those trucks to distribute that particular beverage. Now, I want to be able to say that my sales are very good. So what I'll do is I'll have, say, this beverage on the shelves. Then I hire a company to buy those drinks, to buy that off the shelves. And that is legal. I can then give a company, I think it's called, one company is called Ibotta. I'll give them $100 million or $10 million to go buy all of that and do these promos of buy one, get one free.
Oh, wow.
And that creates what you could call demand. I mean, I'm selling this and that's on my books. Now I can go and raise more money because my product is selling well. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, they do that with books. They do that with a lot of different things.
Really?
They do that with books. So we were even talking about, I don't want to say the book, Rob, but you know what I'm talking about. They'll give New York Times bestseller lists with an asterisk saying there was one order of 50,000 or whatever it is.
Weird.
Say. So,
yeah.
But and by
so
the way,
dishonest.
Let me tell you what happened. There's even a company that helps you become a bestseller where they have 50 buyers of the book in 50 different cities that go to show Barnes & Noble. These are guys that you pay 50. You know how you do focus group? You know the focus group model where you go, so what do you think about this? Here's $75. What do you think about this? Here's $75. And you sit through a 2-hour thing. They pay you $50 or $75 to go buy the book off the shelf, You show the receipt. You bought the book. Come in, and then you do what you do with the book. And then Barnes & Noble gets a order saying, wow, we sold out all the books at 50 locations in 50 cities. Wow. That bumps you up. And so there's
Dude, that's so
and it's legal.
crazy.
And that's legal.
No, it's actually not. So what happens?
It's not.
Meaning when you say it's legal, of course it's legal. But when they find out with the ranking that you did that, tainted permanently.
Yeah. Well, Triller. So Triller raised something like $423 million. That was the Jake Paul fight. And I guess from what I've read and what I've seen, and this guy was telling me as well, because he's in this particular part of the business, he said, I think they bought something like 220 million bots, and then they found out that was the case. If you look at this, but that's why Triller now is basically got $90,000 in the bank.
See, this is why. For example,
but they raise money based on.
I'll bring this up to Manek. I'll bring this up to Manek to kind of see how this thing work. Okay, and by the way, you can put up Malek for Bryan Callen's Manek. He's on Manek. You can Manek with him and ask him any questions you want to ask him. That's his QR code.
I've been having a good time with this.
Yeah. So the thing with Manek is, user response rate. Everything is about actual activity. You can say you have people that join your website or download the app. How many are active? The key is activity. Right now, the average response rate for last month on Manek, when you ask a question, 94% of the time they respond to you. 94%. 50% of the time, the answer you get is within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So think about that. Where, again, I can send a cold, whatever, email or any of that stuff. On Manek, you get a response like this. A lot of these things that come out and they try to fabricate a way to get the eyeballs, you can do that. I don't think that's what Logan Paul is doing. I think Logan Paul legit is selling a shit ton of.
I believe that. I don't like bashing the Paul brothers. I actually like those guys because I think what they've done. I'm a fan. So I think what Jake is doing and stuff, and Logan. I don't like people love to bash those guys. I don't like they work their ass off.
But I will tell you this. Here's what I will tell you. If you want to pull up the WAPO story, this is the part that, as a drink company, you have to answer to. Okay, Prime Energy has 200 million. This is according to WAPO. It has 200 milligrams of caffeine in it in a 12-ounce can, which is about 6 times the amount of caffeine in a comparable can of Coca-Cola.
Damn.
And kids are drinking this.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Give me those numbers.
Let me read this to you one more time, okay? Rob, you can go lower. It's in. Just type in 200. It'll go to it. Type Control F200. You'll find it. It'll go to it. So, if you Rob, why don't you go back and search this word, prime drink caffeine levels. Go on Google, type in prime drink caffeine levels, and you'll see what numbers it'll come up. Prime drink caffeine levels right there. Zoom in. 200 milligrams. Prime Energy has 200 milligrams of caffeine in a 12-ounce can, which is about 6 times the amount of caffeine in a comparable can of Coca-Cola. Wow. It also has taurine, inosol, iodine, all these other things that it has in it, as well as energy drinks. So nobody is saying, they're not doing well. They're actually doing I think even their revenues are over $2 billion.
I believe it. Yeah. I mean, these brothers have done a great job.
But parents need to know that your kids are drinking 6 Cokes every time they drink a Prime.
That's bananas.
That's what parents need to know.
And also, besides filtered coconut water and caffeine and all the flavor agents, electrolytes, what have you, it also contain, I don't know if you said it, PBD, sucralose, which is an artificial sweetener that some studies have linked to DNA damage, weird, and a leaky gut, which I don't even know what the hell that means. But if it's not good, damaging your DNA, and again, but more power to that.
One thing about sucralose, that component of the drink that they put, for example, the main reason why you put that than a different kind of a sugar, because it makes the flavor better. The problem with energy drinks, if they don't taste good, people are not buying
at all.
Correct. So number one rule, as weird as this sounds, the marketers will come and tell you, you need to make sure they taste good, or else you're not going to sell it.
That's right.
So if you type in Prime Energy Drink top line revenue. Prime Energy Drink top line revenue. Okay. There you go. Look at this. $1.2 billion in annual sales in 2 years, and that's an old story.
The number 2 hydration beverage
behind Gatorade.
Think about Gatorade is the king.
Yeah.
But we were in the PBD group chat, maybe yesterday we were, there was, can I tell that story?
Which one is that?
About a guy who was maybe going to come on the podcast, and what he talks about with what's in these drinks. He was talking about Celsius. Did you see that clip?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
it was Brecca.
Yeah,
Gary
because
Brecca.
there's a chemical in Celsius that actually blocks the ability to break down the caffeine. Right? So the caffeine stays in your body for 5-6 hours.
So he basically was saying, hey, listen, we know the energy. Look, there's an energy drink war going on right there. Gatorade's the king. Prime has showed up out of nowhere. Yeah, and he basically saying, if you see the following word, cyanocobalamin, you can probably play it here.
That's Gary Brecka.
It's like, dude, stay away.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Heard of a Celsius energy drink? Celsius energy drink has 4 times the amount of daily cyanide that a human being is meant to ingest. 4 times. That's just one sample. So drink Monster or Bang. I mean, drink Bang, not Monster or Celsius, right? Bang has methylcobalamin. This has cyanocobalamin. So, and we wonder what, we're putting these toxic chemicals. This is, where we get the hydrogen cyanide? Don't make me take you to that website because you'll just get up and leave. I want, do you know where we would get hydrogen cyanide? Because these facilities that actually compound this B12, they don't even pay for the hydrogen cyanide. You know where they get it? Human sewage treatment plants. Yep. It is the waste from a human sewage treatment plant. It's called sludge. It's foamy yellow sludge. They scrape it off the top, they dry it, turn it into a powder, ship it to a facility, synthesize it with a metal, and put it in your body. That's not true.
This is allegedly. This is his story.
Gary Brecka is also the guy who said that the best thing you can do to melt fat off your body is to sit in ice water. And there's 0 human studies to prove that. They took rats and brought them up to, they almost died in hypothermia and they lost some weight. So I'm sorry, that's a very simplified idea. Gary Brecka's not a chemist. He's not a chemist. You could say that about a lot of chemicals.
You're familiar with what he talks about?
Yeah,
it sounds like you are.
That's not that relevant. He uses all these things like cyanide and stuff like that. No, sorry, I just don't buy it from him.
So would they be able to get him in trouble?
I don't think Celsius is necessarily bad for you. I mean, good for you. I don't drink it. I'm a coffee guy, but overall, I think the relevant thing is that if you have that much caffeine and kids are taking it, or you have a chemical that stops the breakdown of caffeine, that's why your heart's going to be beating for 5 hours. Yeah. You tell me if that's good for you.
What do you think about Brecka? It sounds like you watch him, you follow him closely.
I just am friends with too many scientists. And especially nutritional scientists who work with the biggest athletes in the world, like LeBron James and guys who really need to see results. So when you have friends that run the biggest performance sports lab in the world, and you listen to them talk, what you hear from them is things like this. Watch. If you're a scientist, you hear them use these words. Lane Norton and those guys, they'll use words like, I don't know, sometimes, maybe, it depends. When I hear somebody talking about, with all due respect for Gary Brecka, I don't know him, but when you hear somebody talk about how good for you and how effective a cold plunge is at losing weight and melting fat off your body, and then they sell cold plunges on their website, I tend to go, things that make me go, That's all.
CNC Music Factory right there. That's an old school reference.
I just, again, Gary Brecka, who helped Dana White, and I don't know him. I mean, and I'm sure it probably worked. Calorie restriction and all the things. God bless. And a good businessman. But I think he has a biology degree. We'd have to look it up, but I don't know that he's a scientist. And I don't know that necessarily when I hear people talk in definitive terms about certain things, I always kind of go, especially when I have scientist friends who go, bullshit. That's all. So,
Rob, go to his Wikipedia account.
Yeah.
Go to
Gary Brecka.
Now, Dana White is...
I'm not seeing one for Gary Brecka.
There's no way. There's no way he doesn't have a Wikipedia.
There it is, Rob. Good job.
They don't have.
You ready for tonight, Rob? We got 2 shows. Are you ready?
Are you ready, Rob?
All right.
Get your shit interesting, Rob.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know his background from.
No, I know. So here we go. So the co-founder of 10XL Systems, Gary Brecka, holds degrees in biology and human biology, but he is perhaps best known for his work with high-profile clients like UFC president.
So just stop for a second. So he's got his degrees in biology. Was that a BA? Because
BS in biology.
Okay, so he's got an undergraduate degree in biology. Okay, I have an undergraduate degree in history. Don't ask me about history. I ain't a historian. You know, I'm serious. I mean, this is where I kind of go, this is interesting. What's your background? What did he do before this? What was he a businessman? What was his thing before this?
He was in the life settlement world.
Yeah.
He was in the what?
Life
settlement business.
Life settlement. What does that mean?
I can tell you all about it if you want.
Life settlement is you say you have a $5 million insurance policy. Guys like him come. You can't afford to pay it anymore.
I'm already glazing over.
Let me tell you what happens though.
Yeah.
They come and they say, you're how old? 78. They'll do a testing on you. Okay, we'll buy your policy $5 million for, let's just say 20%. I'm just giving a
$1 million
number.
cash.
We'll give you $1 million. You give us the $5 million policy. You die. They get the $5 million policy, so they lost $1 million.
We pay the premium.
They do the math.
$50,000 every year,
right? And then they do the math on when you're going to die, and the death benefit goes.
Why am I going to ask that guy about health? Why? That's not somebody.
But then let me flip it on you. And I'm not a Gary Brecka guy. This is not a guy I've broke bread with. We saw him one time at the UFC thing in the back, and that's it. I would flip it on you and would say, you know, why should I take advice from Rogan on ivermectin?
You shouldn't.
But believe it or not, Rogan did a lot of good for a lot of people.
I agree with you, but I still wouldn't take my advice on anything from somebody who's a non-scientist. Joe's a comedian. He'll tell you that himself. Don't listen to me. I'm a comedian, and that's what I do first in a podcaster. So anybody who's taking their advice from comedians or podcasters, anybody who's taking their advice from somebody who's not a credible scientist who's done peer-reviewed research and human-controlled studies, you probably are taking, you better be careful about that stuff. Again.
But I would be careful with the other side, because during COVID, we were also told to trust the science. So to me, I love what you said about the guy that said, it depends. Maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Not all the time.
Yes.
That's what I like as
COVID
well.
created a lot. I'll never forgive them.
That's right.
I'll never forgive them. They put my daughter in a mask for 2 years. They've lost people like this have lost my trust. I am right with you on that. I was against this mask policy and shutting down the economy from a bunch of bureaucrats who don't pay a price for being wrong, who've never started a business in their life, who have no idea what it is to build a brand over 30 years, who have no idea. They're just bureaucrats. I have a huge problem with that, which is why I'm a conservative. I believe in small government, not a giant, massive bureaucracy with no accountability. We can get into that. What I'm talking about here is I've seen that guy talk about a wand that you can put in water to hydrogenate your water. I'm sorry.
A wand?
A wand, sir. You want to hydrogenate, bring it up. You want to hydrogenate your water with a nitrogen wand. These are the kinds of things that make me a little.
Yeah. Click on that guy. Click on what the guy.
That's my boy right there, Lane North.
Click on that.
Lane's a PhD and a world. Watch this.
It's Friday, and so you know what time it is.
Stop for a sec. World champion powerlifter right now, holds the world record of powerlifting, and he's a PhD. And he's a guy who says, the reason I don't have a yacht is I'm never going to tell you that this is a catch-all, this is all good. I'm not going to say sugar is bad for you across the board. I'm not going to do that. There are a lot of studies that show this, that, and the other thing. So go ahead.
Go ahead and play from the moment it starts.
Watch this.
Alima. So what this will do, inside this stick is something called mother water. It takes a year to make this. I travel with this so this thing doesn't break. So you can either use it to stir a glass of water for about 30 seconds, or you can stir this entire pitcher. And what it'll do,
mother box?
in about 30 seconds, is it will restructure the water. Remember, water doesn't just have chemical properties, it's got physical properties. Yeah. If you've ever seen any of the research on praying over water or actually speaking to water or playing music to water, we now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that water will organize into these beautiful, like, hexagonal structures. It's not only more hydrated, it actually changes the charge and makes the water more viable. So this will restructure and make the water what we call coherent. 30 seconds.
Coherent? I thought we were done with this with Mindy Peltz. Okay, guys. I don't like charlatans and people that make it up. I really don't. But at a certain point, when a guy is stirring a wand in water, saying it makes it more coherent, and changes the structure of the water, you deserve to get scammed. I'm sorry. My hands have been changed.
And he's selling that. He's selling those.
Did you buy that? No, of course you didn't. So why would you buy this? Yes, water organizes itself into a structure based on hydrogen bonding, but if you could change the structure of the water significantly, it just changes its state. It either goes into gaseous form or it goes into ice, crystalline structure. It changes the charge. What, like, based on what?
You can pause it right there, Rob.
Yeah. Well, guess what?
So
I'm returning my wand.
So I've never done that in my life. Have you? I've never done that. I've never said, you know, I have an app right now that's gonna change your aura. This is where is your pain? In your shoulder? Just hold
on his back.
I have to hold this there a second. No, lick your lips, and then we have to get you in black panties actually, because I gotta, you know, like, shut up. Come on, dude. Come on. There's a limit now.
What was the term for in the Old West when the guy would sell you the elixirs?
Yeah.
Snake oil sales.
Snake oil sales.
The water becomes more coherent.
Is that where you're going with
water
this?
becomes more coherent.
Ryan, he
sir.
sold a lot of guys that are your friends. I mean, he sold a lot of, you know.
All I'm saying, Patrick, is we got to look at the evidence.
No, we're on the same page.
What you're saying is, I don't know, sometimes, maybe allegedly.
Things that make me go, That's all I'm saying.
You don't remember Eddie?
That's all I'm saying. I don't want to cause any problems.
All right, let's go to a different story here, Rob. So can you pull up the James Comey, his reaction, losing his mind with us? We have to vote for Biden based on what Comey is saying here. Go ahead and play this clip. Watch this. Look at him. He just loses it.
Are you concerned that it may get a test unlike any other if Donald Trump is reelected? I mean, when you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American.
Aww.
This election matters. Because of a reason like that, people have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, you must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
The MAGA mafia. Look at this. That's not biased, is it?
Dude, that makes me want to go for him. But what do you think about it? Because I'm going to go in on the FBI.
Go ahead.
First of all, for everybody that remembers who this scumbag is, protected, you know, he brought out the story about Hillary, but the whole thing with Trump and the collusion and everything, I want everybody to remember who James Comey is. He's a scumbag, and that's my humble opinion. I don't know if you guys remember the FBI, Pat, if you don't mind. He's a part of the same FBI that nobody trusts anymore, from Peter Strzok with the Russia collusion with everything. Remember when they did the raid at Mar-a-Lago? The FBI, the actual agents, they didn't want to do the actual raid, all right? Merrick Garland overrode them, and he added that he wanted to add deadly force, okay? They're looking for documents, but if you're looking for deadly force, that means you want a gunfight. You want something to happen. You know Secret Service is there. You know Donald
When
Trump.
you're saying deadly force, actually, for audience that doesn't know, you want to tell them what you mean by the deadly force?
Well, I'm saying the deadly force. So Merrick Garland, it was.
You want me to show the words?
Yes, yeah.
Can you pull this up so I can just have Vinny go? Okay. New doc reveals FBI was authorized to use deadly force during Mar-a-Lago raid. Independent journalists like Julie Kelly reported on new information unsealed as part of a legal case Donald Trump is fighting regarding his alleged mishandling of classified documents, which included proof that the FBI was authorized to use deadly force when necessary on both Trump and Secret Service during their Mar-a-Lago raid. By filing an exhibit in motion to Supreme Evidence from 2022 Mar-a-Lago raid, Trump has inadvertently discovered new information about FBI's permission to use force, even deadly force, against him and his Secret Service. So that's the story that came out. Even Trump.
Can I tell you something though? Don't you feel sometimes you're being gamed? When I hear this, I think to myself, the FBI overall, first of all, if you really see it, it is made up of very conservative people and real patriots. Actually, if you look at
like the majority of them,
yeah. You'd be very surprised. I mean, the FBI is an outstanding institution with an unbelievable track record. Of course, like any institution, they've got you know, you've got rogue actors, you've got people that you know, they make mistakes. But for the most part, most people would probably say the FBI in a lot of ways is a pretty impeccable institution in a lot of ways. And the people in that institution, they're very conservative. They tend to be very conservative.
Brian, it's crazy. I'm going to disagree because from what I've seen from the past 7 years, from how they treat Hillary, how they treat conservative presidents or potential presidents to Hillary and all them. Well, like Peter Strzok and all them. Yeah. And you're right. The agents, mind you, I know a guy that I talked to on Manek, Brian. He's one of us. I agree that there is some, but as the institution, and we can go all the way back to
I agree. I'm not saying that there. Obviously, any institution is going to have corruption. It's going to have,
of course.
You know, I think what I worry about with this kind of like report is I say to myself, hold on, am I being gamed? In other words, if you're an FBI agent and you send agents in, they have guns. The mandate always is if you are attacked or shot, you have the ability to use deadly force. So there's no such thing as an FBI operation where they're not allowed. They don't have the potential to pull a gun and shoot
1,000%.
So that's what I worry about when I see this. I go, am I being gamed here? Is somebody on the other side trying to use this to kind of whip up a whole bunch of craziness?
But here's the thing, though, Brian. You are going to the president of the United States' private, like his house. Okay. You know for a fact there's Secret Service and private security. Donald Trump has, dude, we've been there. It's massive. It's ridiculous. And thank God they have it like that. But the reason they're looking for the fight, that's my opinion. The reason that they raided it is because they were trying to look for the Crossfire Hurricane documents, those which Donald Trump said if he's elected for the 47th president of the United States, all those documents, this is the Russia collusion thing, have incriminating evidence on Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the CIA that's going to show treasonous shit that they did to the country. No wonder why they're wheeling out James Comey. It's all timing. They bring him out to be like, everybody, bad, scare. I hope people aren't dumb to realize what's happening, to go to the president's house and say, because the regular agents, and Rob, you have this video. This is Senator Hawley is grilling AG Merrick Garland, and it's pretty revealing on why he did it. I know what you're saying about the blanket.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, I appreciate and love your cynicism here and your question, because as an American, you should always be asking this question.
1,000%. And I'm not one of those. I'm not saying I don't trust. And like you said, there's good people. But Brian, there is a reason Donald Trump cannot win. I've said this before. They cannot let this guy in. The ex-FBI head of FBI is panicking and saying, you have to vote for this other guy. This is Senator Hawley, who I freaking love. He's one of the true ones, going after him about the raid.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Garland, you said in our last exchange that it's your practice to defer to FBI agents in the field when it comes to investigations, apprehensions of subjects. I was interested, given your answer, to read in this morning's Washington Post that the FBI is saying that you overruled them when it came to raiding ex-President Trump's personal residence. Washington Post reports this morning, showdown before the raid, that senior FBI officials who would be in charge of leading the search resisted doing so as too combative, and proposed instead to seek Trump's permission to search his property. These field agents wanted to shutter the criminal investigation altogether in early June, the Post reports, but they were overruled
because they were conservatives
by Maine DOJ. So I guess in light of your earlier testimony just this morning, my question is, how often do you overrule FBI field agents for political purposes?
I've skimmed that article. That's not an accurate reflection of what the article says, and I'm not able to comment on the investigation. My comment earlier was about tactics on the ground in particular cases.
Wait. You said it's not I'm reading to you from the article. Quote, senior FBI officials who would be in charge of leading the search resisted the plan as too combative and proposed instead to seek Trump's permission to seek his property, according to 4 people who spoke on condition of anonymity to describe a sensitive investigation, end quote.
Again, I have to say, I'm not able to describe the investigation. I will say as a general matter and at a high level of generality, that in my experience, long experience as a prosecutor, there is often a robust discussion And in the end, and it's encouraged among investigators and prosecutors.
Attorney General, my time is very.
I love that.
Yes, and you made the decision.
I did. That's
right.
not-
You said you did.
No, I'm sorry. What I said was I approved the decision.
So you didn't make the decision to rape?
I approved the decision to seek a search warrant after probable cause was filed.
Overruling the FBI agents who did not want to do so. Did you talk about this with the White House?
The memorandum does not.
I like Holly.
That Washington Post article does not say what you're saying. I'm sorry, and I'm not able to describe this in any further.
Well,
detail.
I think given that, Mr. Chairman, I'll just ask that this entire article be entered into the record.
You know, it's from smart Ted Cruz.
And we can read for ourselves. I invite people to go and look. It says exactly that FBI field agents did not want to conduct the raid, and they were overruled by DOJ. So it doesn't seem to me, Attorney General, that the FBI has a lot of confidence in you, because what they're doing clearly is trying to distance themselves from your decisions. They're out there leaking left, right, and center and saying it wasn't us. We didn't want to do it. He made us do it. What's that say about their confidence in your leadership?
Well, the previous senator said that they're leaking all in favor of the left. Now you're saying they're leaking all in favor of
I'm
the
asking
right.
you my question. Answer my question based on this evidence. Don't dissemble, Attorney General.
Time has expired.
And that's
Answer
why,
my question.
Time is
Yeah,
expired.
and he won't. And I love, and Brian, that goes to your point. Exactly what's happening right there. Yes, there are
Holly's
amazing
a
agents.
dog.
Yeah, I love them. There's amazing agents. They are
Holly's a
conservative.
dog.
But Brian, what do you do when you have the conservative good agents that are trying to open their mouths, but the leader
You know
of
what?
your organization
You know what I'd
is a
say?
scumbag?
You know what I'd say?
What?
That is democracy at work. It's never been any different in our republic. And as long as we have that, as long as we have back and forth between right and left or Democrats and Republicans, we are A-OK. And you know why? It keeps government grinding at a very, very slow, laborious pace. You want government going one step back, because they stay out of our lives.
Checks and balances.
You want checks and balances. The founding fathers wanted that right there. Yelling back and forth, holding each other accountable, making you look stupid. I'll make you look stupid. Debate. And what happens? We just waste a lot of time in a chamber. Yes. So the rest of us can get on, make our money, not get taxed to the gills, and keep on going.
I think that's a very good point. For those of us who don't remember Comey, the last thing that I remember from Comey, if you remember this, was in 2016, Trump got elected. There was a meeting in the Oval Office. You could probably find this. Comey is 6'8".
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He ain't a small dude.
No, he's a big
He's the former director of the FBI. He was preceded by Bob Mueller, a.k.a. the Mueller Report.
Yep.
And the new director of the FBI since Trump is Christopher Wray. There's this meeting. And in the meeting, 6'8" James Comey is trying to blend in with a blue curtain. Can you punch it? Is this the picture?
Yeah, that's
so funny.
He's trying to blend in. And what happens is, by the way, James Comey is a lifelong Republican, but he's also one of the never Trump Republicans. In 2016, after his firing, basically right after this meeting, he switched to independent.
Yeah.
He's like a Bush establishment. You talked about institutions.
Yeah.
He's an institutionalist. He's an establishment Republican. That's who he is. Now he's officially an independent. What's my point? After this, the story with Comey was that Trump asked for what? What's the one thing that Trump asked for from Comey? His loyalty. And he said, sir, I cannot promise you undying loyalty, but I can promise you to always tell you the truth. You'll always get the truth from me.
I like that.
And he got fired. And do you know what the book he wrote was called? A Higher Loyalty, Truth, Lies, and Leadership.
But I
And
like that.
there were
I like
two-
that Comey said that, Adam, because
You do?
yes, because the FBI director cannot be loyal to the president. The FBI,
Why not,
FBI
though?
director has
Why
to be
not?
loyal to the law. This is
No.
not ruled by man. This is ruled by law. Very, very important distinction in a democracy, guys, is that you cannot have a man setting the rules. The president is responsible to the law and is under the law. You need to preserve that. And so I don't think that because, remember, Comey is the one who's blamed for making Hillary Clinton lose the election. He
1
opened that
week before
investigation.
the election,
Yeah.
sloppy emails.
By the way, he doesn't come out. Trump doesn't win.
Right.
You know what it's
Right.
like? It's kind of like this. It's like if Twitter allowed for the New York Post to say Biden doesn't win.
Exactly.
That's how close
Yes.
this was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hillary
And I
hates
think-
Comey and Trump hates Comey.
Yeah, but I think
Hillary probably hates him more about
yes, and so what I think is that, like, again, I don't think you're a bad person if you're a conservative and you have big problems with Trump, right? Like You're allowed to be a conservative and say, I think Trump is a con man or whatever it might be, and have a problem with his character and have a problem with the fact that he's all about Trump and not about, the higher principles. That's a legitimate argument you can make. I think we have to be careful about that. I do also think that the stakes are very high, and I think the fact that in a lot of ways Biden has been hijacked by the radical left is a very big problem. I find that to be a much bigger threat than, say, a narcissist in the White House like Trump. Frankly, I think Trump is very funny. I think he's got a pretty good command of foreign policy. I think he has a very good command of the economy. I just do. That's my personal opinion. I got other problems with the guy, but I'll take him probably over somebody who I think is probably pushing. I mean, Biden doesn't just have a stutter. He seems to be having some cognitive issues. Please watch when he walks anywhere. His staff creates a phalanx.
Doing this,
phalanx.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, there might be a strong wind. We got to make sure we wait until the wind dies. I'm not
I will
joking.
say one thing about Comey, though. Comey is, if you were to go the last 5 years, people that you can't figure out, right? Think about the people that you can't figure out that are complicated.
Yeah.
Comey's on that top 5 list. You can't really figure him out because he's the reason why Trump is president.
Yes.
Think about it. Pfizer vaccine announces the vaccine 2 days after election is over with. What if they came out 4 days before? What if vaccine was announced by Pfizer a day before election? Who would have said, I got it done?
That's
Operation
right.
Warp Speed.
Trump.
So that hurt him, right? What if New York Post, Twitter? So to me, Comey's an interesting guy. Now, having said that, when he's saying in that meltdown, saying, we have to be careful because if he comes in, he's going to replace this and he's going to replace that. Why are you worried?
Exactly.
What's your worry? Why do you care?
Yeah.
What is it such a big concern of yours right now? You did your part. Salute. Good for your service. Go make your whatever money you're making per year. Why shouldn't we be looking at what Ray is doing or Merrick Garland? Oh, I approved it. Oh, no, I didn't approve it. Oh, they're going against you. Oh, they're not going against you. Why? No, the part in the last 2 years, in the last 12 months, that in my lifetime of living in America, that's very weird, is actually seen, because historically, you lived in Iran, man, the government decides who wins and who doesn't win. I mean, they're going to destroy the opposition, right? Putin, what does Putin do? You think Putin uses the Department of Justice? What do you think? We think DOJ here. Do you know how he uses the DOJ?
You get poisoned.
No, I'm actually being very serious with you. What do you think the DOJ in Russia looks like?
Oh, my God.
So the only thing that's very different about the last 12 months, we actually are seeing what it looks like when the president uses the DOJ against you.
Yep.
We learned about it that Obama did that, but we didn't fully believe it. We're like,
Patrick.
I don't know.
That's a big
The
difference.
last 12 months is like, hey, wait a minute.
Yes. Yep.
Not cool with this, bro.
I agree.
So dismantle that entire thing is what I would say.
I think also you've got these very creative DAs, and they are doing whatever they can. You've got Fannie Willis. You've got Alvin Bragg with that ridiculous case. This case with Alvin Bragg, where that's a misdemeanor, paying hush money to a porn star, and you're saying that influenced the election. Where is this? In your number one witness is Cohen, who's a known perjurer, went to jail for it. What are we talking about here? That is a misdemeanor, by the way. It's a misdemeanor, writing checks to a porn star to keep her quiet. That's not even a. And you've got Alvin Bragg in New York, who's shooting it up to a felony while he isn't even prosecuting real criminals on the street who mug people. So I agree. My biggest worry here is that the Justice Department, very creative DAs who make zero bones about saying that they are far left candidates, usually put in place by people like Soros and stuff, who are doing whatever they can to use the legal system as a weapon to essentially put this guy in jail for the rest of his life. Or at the very least, have him stuck in court where he can't campaign. Trump right now can campaign 1 day a week. Do you know that? Wednesday. You know the rest of the time, he's in court.
Really?
Yes. So you tell me. So now that's what I worry about. To your point, I've never seen this before. This is what other countries do, where every president now has to worry, and I promise you the Republicans are going to do it to a Democrat. Every president now has to worry about spending the rest of their life in court and going bankrupt.
And Brian, that's why when I say I think Merrick Garland overriding and saying I want deadly force, to me that is an attempted assassination attempt, because you are trying to tell them, guys, go in there and get these documents. If you even any hesitation, you just start shooting.
Yeah, but you're putting words in. I don't know if that's true, Vinny. That's the only thing I'm saying.
What? That he authorized?
Yeah, like I think what I'm saying is that be careful because we might be getting gamed, right? Like so that if you really knew the whole story, you might be like, oh damn, I shouldn't have said. Yeah, I don't think that happened. I actually don't. I don't think that's what's really going on. I think we might be looking at this technical law that's now being blown up for political purposes.
Okay.
And by the way, this is what I'll say. This is what I'll say on why I lean towards what Bryan is saying here is sometimes in insurance policies, like there's, like, you know, can you pull up the terms and conditions agreement for social media companies? Have you ever seen this? Have you ever seen the terms and conditions for social media companies?
No.
Ridiculous.
Just type it in, like, and then
crazy,
go to images, right? Well, you have to see, believe it or not, the person that's the longest, the contract, if you look it up, social media.
Can I give a prediction? Who's the shortest? TikTok. Can China use all your data? Sure. Click here. Boom.
Do you know who's his longest? Microsoft. So anyways, there's an image that shows how long it is. I found it. Rob, I'll send it to you. You guys have to see this visual because it's a visual thing. Just pull up what I'm texting you, Rob. And where I'm going right now with this is the following. Sometimes you keep adding stuff to a contract and an agreement that you always reuse. So the way I would want to see this is the following. This is when I'll lose it if I see it. If the last 50 times you rated someone, okay, and in there never said use of deadly force, but it is in this one, problematic.
Yes.
This is where the people who are supporting, this is terms of service. Look at this. I think the longest one is Microsoft. Keep going down to see how long they are. Look at this. Keep going down, 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 keep going down. Second to the right is Microsoft. Microsoft keeps going. That's Microsoft. Look at the Microsoft. Keeps going. They have the longest one, by the way. So, but sometimes you just add this stuff in there after a lawsuit. You add it again. We killed that person. Well, you know what? Why don't we put in the terms and condition that if the FBI accidentally does, well, guess what? Use of deadly force permission was given, right?
Yep.
So a guy doesn't go to jail. If someone who's a lawyer who actually is able to find out the last 50 times they rated what terminology has been used, and it's been used, fine, cool. If not, let her rip.
Yeah.
Let her rip if you only isolated the contract on this specific case.
That's right.
Okay.
This happened to me. CAA was my agent, and when you go and you go to a club, you do a corporate gig, you have a rider, right? You have like a thing on what the artist needs. Now, I get to this corporate gig, and the woman comes in out of breath, and she goes, "I'm so sorry." I go, and she goes, "We can't find a freestanding armoire." And I go, "What's an armoire?" She goes, "An armoire."
You mean from Seinfeld?
You hang your clothes in. I said, "An armoire? I'm doing stand-up." She goes, "Yeah, but in your rider, we have an armoire, and we have the sandwiches." And I go, "I don't have anything in my rider." "A rider? What rider?" "I don't ask for anything. Nothing." "Yeah, my rider says nothing." And she goes, "What we have in your rider says you have to have a freestanding mirror, you have to have an armoire, and you have to have a plate of sandwiches, and then a couple of other things." And I went, what my agent had done by accident is he'd taken someone else's rider.
Oh, wow.
They didn't erase the stuff for years, bro. So I didn't know. I never even noticed this. I'm not eating those sandwiches.
Kidding me?
So I was like, I've been the biggest a-hole on the planet. They've been getting this thing, and they've been trying to run around an armoire.
We got to get Diva, Bryan Callen,
for my suit.
What is an armoire?
It's a freestanding closet.
Like a closet.
It's a big wooden thing.
Armoire.
Show me what an armoire. How do you spell an armoire?
Can you imagine doing this?
You know what? Like the Seinfeld episode that he did about an armoire.
That's what I need. Yeah, yes. I need that. bro. I'm in a
$4,000.
Bro, I'm in a hotel. I'm in a hotel in the convention area where they're trying to get that thing. I don't need that, bro.
Callen, tell me you know the Seinfeld episode about the armoire.
No.
Rob, what? One of the best episodes.
But that's a $4,000 like piece of
armoire.
This is what I had.
But that's
no
the
idea.
part, and I think this is why it's important to do some digging on this. Any lawyers watching, dig it, Manect me, Manect Vinny, send it to us.
Yeah.
We would love to know. That's Vinny's Manect QR code right there. You can Manect them. Right there, you see it.
So, guys, let me ask you a question, and I've never asked you this. I want to know, do you think it's feasible or possible, or it's actually happening right now, that if the left, the really far left, the deep state, had an opportunity to take out Trump, would they take it? Like, is there anything, do you think, in your heart of hearts, Brian?
So I think,
because of everything that's happening, think about it.
I have one correction, but go ahead.
But Brian, from what I'm saying, they cannot let him win from 2016 till now. Look at what they're doing. The lawyers, the judges. Adam the other week was like, Vinny, you think the courts and the judges? Yes, I do, because they all are bought and paid for. Do you think if they had an inkling, an opportunity to take this guy out, because I think if it was the 60s and only Zapruder, 1,000% they would have tried it already. So you think it's...
So the Founding Fathers, especially James Madison, when he wrote the Federalist Papers with John Jay and Alexander Hamilton, I believe, which is considered one of the great ideas of philosophy. It gave birth to the Constitution, guys. I mean, you know, it's so what was James Madison, what was he spending most of his time worrying about? Faction. How do you keep factions from powerful factions from forming in government, and then finally one faction that was more ruthless, smarter, and maybe even more violent taking over all the other factions, and now you've got basically a mob, a mafia-like structure in your government that's running everything. How do you stop that? That was his greatest contribution, was that he figured out a way to create these things called checks and balances, so we don't have factions grow. So the Founding Fathers knew that, of course, you will always have ambitious people in power. And what do ambitious people in power do? Whatever they have to stay in power. Let me quote Lord Acton: "Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts." Absolutely.
Right.
Human beings, everybody in this room, all of us would be the same way. You got to remember that about your own personality, that I have a way of, I know how I want to make the world. I would be like, well, you can't have this, we can't have that. Then you look at my search history on my Instagram, and it's animals eating animals.
And it's armoires galore.
My wife was like, why do you have these women with these impossible tits? I was like, I don't know. I fell down. I faked an injury. I was like, somebody got my phone. I don't know. I don't look at that stuff. It was so embarrassing. I'm an old man. I'm disgusting. But the point is, that we all, the Founding Fathers knew that yes, they will try to kill you.
I want to transition to the next story.
I agree with
you. Didn't write anything I wrote down.
No, I want to go to the next story. But by the way, for what it's worth, I actually really like the position Callen took, because Callen went to the reasonable side, tried to get all the information before jumping to a conclusion, assuming that automatically it's that. I want to know what's in the agreement. But I want to go to the next story. I got a few more stories to go through here. So Jamie Dimon, check this out. America's most powerful banker issues ominous warning about the U.S. economy. Jamie Dimon warned that a hard landing for the U.S. economy is possible, noting, could we actually see one, of course, and expressed concerns about stagflation, which he described as the worst outcome, which inflation, rising high unemployment, and slow growth. He remarked the odds have been higher than other people think, and noted similarities to the 1970s economic conditions. Dimon highlighted ongoing economic challenges, stating unemployment has been below 4% now for a year and a half or 2 years, and added that despite a potential recession, consumers are in pretty good shape. However, he warned that inflation is stickier than people think, and suggested that interest rates might still increase a little bit due to persistent fiscal and monetary stimulus. Okay, this is the same guy that just announced that he will be retiring fairly soon. Not something that he is, his timetable isn't 5 years anymore. It's a lot shorter than that. 68 years old. I mean, some people at one point were talking about potentially this guy running for president. This guy's a pretty heavyweight guy.
I'd vote for him.
What do you think about Jamie, and what do you think about what he's saying with the economy?
I always think, and I'll ask you a question with this, I always think that no matter how good you are as an economic animal, trying to predict something with that many moving parts over a period of time is you're always going to fall short in one way or another. And so I think when you are an investor, you should always err on the side of caution and assume everything's going to go to shit. That's why you hedge your bets. But so I always, no matter who it is, even if it's Jamie Dimon, I'm going to listen to it, but I'm probably going to take it with at least a grain of salt. I'm not saying he's not right, but really trying to predict something with that many moving parts, an organism as complex as the U.S. economy, which is, I don't know how many trillions of dollars. Think about that. What is it, a $5 trillion economy? Do you know how long ago, $1 billion seconds was? 32 years ago. Okay, so a trillion seconds, I think, is 32,000 years ago. That would be how much $1 trillion is. Just think about that for a sec. Okay, so that's a trillion seconds. Okay, that's how much money $1 trillion is. So you're dealing with a huge thing. So let me ask you this question. You've done very well as you're an economic animal, man, and how right have you been in your predictions?
51%.
Thank you.
50. Oh, well, you kidding me? No way.
Thank you for that honest answer.
No way.
And you're a smart dude who's has made his money.
No, I mean, to me, everything is like, look, obviously what I know I can bet on that I have 90% confident in is whatever I operate. Anything I operate, I got confident in. Yeah. Okay. So if anybody thinks the future doesn't look bright, is because you don't have confidence in your ability to work, improve, and strategize. If somebody's willing to work, treat people fairly, work their asses off, keep trying to find ways to recreate themselves and improve them, it's impossible for you not to be optimistic about the future. I don't know if that makes sense. The number 100%. One step
100%.
of where confidence for a person should be coming from, that everything's going to work itself out, is in your abilities to improve and figure things out. That's one. Two, let's talk finances, things we have no control over. Remember how I said there's a handful of people that are part of you can't figure them out, like where they are, and I said Comey's one of them? This is one thing that's happened in the last 4 years with the economy that's kind of weird. Almost every single time we've ever printed money, gold's gone up. And not by a little bit. It's gone up a lot, right? Every time we print money. This time around we printed money, gold didn't go up. Now, I had Dan Bongino on here yesterday, and we're having a conversation with him. He said, well, because the money that would typically go to gold as an asset class went to Bitcoin, which he may not be wrong, by the way. Okay? He may not be wrong. Because Bitcoin now as a market cap itself is $1 trillion market cap. Wow. So what if there was no Bitcoin? Where does that money go to? Where do libertarians typically put their money?
Gold, huh?
In gold. So it's an interesting breakdown to see. Again, the last few years, it's been so fast. It's hitting so fast that we're watching and thinking, man, this is exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. And it hasn't happened yet. The other one that's kind of complicated is the following. Mortgage rates have been high. 7% for how long now? Year and a half that the rates have been gone up and they haven't lowered them, whatever the timeline is. How come there's not been a crash in real estate yet? Mm-hmm. Why is that? Why haven't properties dropped 25% or 20%?
Right.
And you know what's one of the things that, the argument that we brought up yesterday is, hey, when you print as much money as that we printed in the last few years, that money's in something.
It's in circulation.
So maybe everything just went up 40%. So even if there's a crash, maybe right now we are experiencing a 40% crash, but we don't see it and feel it because there's 40% more money circulating in the marketplace. Maybe we are having a 40% crash. These are the things that ever since we started printing money in 2008 the way we did, and now it's become a habit, the way of measuring and predicting the economy has changed drastically.
So interesting.
So that's the part where, Ray Dalio's been saying for how many years when he wrote when did Ray Dalio write Principles? When did we read Principles? 5 years ago? Was it 1920? What year would you say?
Love him.
You know how many years he's been saying the next Great Depression is on its way?
Yeah.
This is a $20 billion guy saying the Great next Depression is on its way. He's been wrong for how many years now?
He's been wrong for, that's what I said.
He's also the guy that said cash is no longer king in 2019.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, all of a sudden cash is king.
You know what I like about him, though? The one thing I took from him, he goes, can't beat the market. I beat the market for a long time, can't beat the market. Just keep that in mind over the long haul.
If I can add to this, when these people make these sort of predictions or give sort of their forecast, I always ask two things. What's their level of credibility and who's their loyalty to? We talked about the loyalty with Trump a second ago. So, all right, let's go through the list. Ray Dalio, high credibility, loyalty, Bridgewater Capital. Okay, he's one of the top hedge fund guys in the world. You have someone like Jamie Dimon, high credibility. Who's his loyalty to? Chase Bank of America.
Yeah.
Then you have other guys like, all right, so Robert Kiyosaki. He makes predictions all the time. Who's his loyalty to? To his brand. He's also selling books, courses.
Yeah.
He kind of predicts doomsday type stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have these extremists like, what's that? Harry Dent, this guy. He came out in 2023. This year, mark my word, it's all going 90%. It's done. It's over. He's a complete doomsday economic prepper type of guy. Yeah, the economy, the stock market was up 25%. Where you at, Harry? So,
but there are crashes.
You talked
all
about
the
these
time, aren't
snake,
they?
but crashes is different. 50% crash, 25% crash is different. 90%. He said. Do you remember that? Was that the number?
Yeah.
So what's there? You talk about snake oil salesmen. We just talked about in the last segment. There's people that you can trust. There's people that have loyalty, credibility. I don't know where.
I think it goes back to the same thing. People that are like, Gary Brecka, he had a problem with at the beginning, right? We're going back and forth. Why? Because it's like, I know. Yeah. Boom. It's like, that's the problem. So there's some people like that in finance as well. No, look, the key in life is, man, you ain't going to get all your decisions right. Everything in life is like shooting free throws.
Yeah.
You just want to keep going up. 60% of the time, you're right with your parenting style. 70%, 80%.
Yes.
If you're in the 60 to 80% mark, you're doing good. You're getting better in life. But that's not.
You can make a lot of money selling.
You're gonna. But this is the.
I was a 90% guy.
Think about it. Were you really?
Yeah.
Really?
Free throw shooter. Yeah.
You were a 90% free throw.
Yeah, not a great 3-point shooter.
Wow.
Patrick, the question is, who was in your
throw?
face when you were taking those shots?
Yeah, I mean, listen, my elbow's on the side.
Free throw nobody.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple more stories here before
free throws. I'm sorry.
Before we wrap up. All right, let's go to 50 Cent and Diddy. I don't know how close you're following this story. Curious to know what your thoughts are going to be on this. So let's kind of go through this.
Oh yeah.
By the way, for those of you guys that are texting, 47 left out of 250. 47 left. Go to vtmerch.com. Get your new green hat Memorial Day weekend. 47 left before they sell out. Okay, so pull up the Cameron. CNN. Cameron tells you how much I listen to Cameron. But pull up the Cameron video here. Vinny's telling me he was a respected rapper.
This guy?
This guy's a respected rapper in New York.
Dipset, Jay-Z. He's as hip hop New York rap as it gets.
Okay, I love
Rob,
He had
you
a
have
couple
it when
big
he's
songs in the
opening up
90s.
when he's opening up the drink. Maybe I don't know if you know exactly where it's at or not.
Right here.
Go for it. Play the clip. Watch. It's very uncomfortable. She's asking him about what happened with Diddy and the apology video. Go for it.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I mean, is there something known in the industry about how Diddy treated his artists?
So I'm going to get some cheeks after this horsepower joint.
Some cheeks. You know what that means?
I'm just going to.
Do you think she knows what that means?
Yeah, she knows what it means. Look at her face. She's so disappointed.
Mace, no puff. So I appreciate what Mace said, and of course, that's my brother. So if he felt that way, then he felt that way. I can't really tell you how Puff moves or anything like that. Mace may know better than me because he was signed to Puff. I wasn't. Yep. But my show does come on at 8 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. It's called It Is What It Is, and y'all make sure y'all check it out. I mean, I might get some more information out of Mace from there, but for me to tell you how Puff act and all that, I don't know. I never was signed to him.
Yeah. What about the industry in general? I mean, so many people have pointed out that Diddy couldn't get away with this stuff if there weren't a lot of people protecting him. Do you think that's the case?
Who the talent agent for this joint? Like, you think I'll be sitting around watching what Diddy do and all this? I didn't know this was a Diddy joint that y'all invited me to. Who booked me for this joint?
All right.
Wow, and I don't be sitting around watching Diddy and all that. Yeah,
thanks.
Man, come on, man.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. You enjoy it.
That poor woman. She's like, oh, God.
Yeah.
I was going to get some cheeks after this.
I'm going to get some cheeks after this.
He sounds, okay.
So what do you think about the whole scandal? What do you think about the whole Ray, Diddy, everything that's apology, Cassie?
I think Diddy is a bad guy. And I think, I'm sorry, but, I've had my issues with the Me Too thing, but also when you have that many women with the same story and you have a video of you beating a girl up like that, you're a scumbag, and then you have this apology, which is all about him. You notice his apology had nothing to do with her. Yeah. It had all to do with him. Me. I this, I that, yes. I that. And I again, when you see people like this in Hollywood, when they do this stuff, there are many stories over many years of this guy being not such a good person. Yep. And I'm not just talking about, even if you didn't hear about the sexual stuff, it's more about him as a business guy, him taking credit for things. Hype Williams.
Yep.
Hype Williams, a friend of mine worked with Hype Williams and P. Diddy back in the 90s. And Hype was the guy who directed all those music videos. When those music videos showed up on MTV back in the day, P. Diddy was put on those videos as the director. My friend walked up to Hype at a party and said, Hype, I was there. P was walking around with a megaphone talking once in a while. You directed it. That was your vision. You did everything. And Hype's the artist. And Hype went, I can't even talk about it, man. I can't even. That's what he did. I can't even talk about it, and walked away. I heard that story, I don't know, 20 years ago, whatever it was. I've never forgotten it. And then I see this guy, releasing doves for Jennifer Lopez. It's all about him. It's always about him. He buys his 16-year-old Maybach. It's all about him. The guy has no values, really. It's all about him. Whether he's giving his kid a present, whether he's honoring his wife by releasing doves. I've never seen a bigger narcissist in my life. He's a pathological narcissist, not a good guy. Again,
you ever had an interaction with him? You ever met him or no?
No, I've heard things and stuff, but I never went.
You ever heard things from people that are close to him that you don't want to give the names? Like,
yes, yes. The answer is yes. I know a lot of things. Yeah.
But how crazy of a thing have you heard?
The reason I don't talk about that is I wasn't there. I don't know. But I saw that video. I saw that. That's all I need to see. Well, all I got to see is something like that, and I believe everything she's telling me. Everything.
I agree. Imagine, that's what we saw in a hallway video of a hotel, right? If he's doing that in the hotel in front of everybody, what is he doing outside of that? You feel me?
Sometimes people are so bad, you can't. I ever tell you, my buddy's a billionaire, and he said to me, I'm naive. I always tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. And he said, Bryan, the problem with you is that you see the a-hole after 5 years. We see the a-hole in 5 minutes.
Wow.
And he goes, you got to stop. You got to start realizing there are people that are even though you can't imagine people being that big of a shithead, they're out there. And he's just a bad guy, I think. He's a bad guy.
I think with Diddy, you're absolutely right about the apology video. He's not sorry. He's sorry he got caught.
Yeah.
Period.
And that's what's going on there. And, you've been in LA how long now?
I've been there for 30 years almost.
Okay, so Diddy has 2 houses where? One in Miami.
Yeah.
One in LA.
Yeah.
So, and he's from New York. I don't know how much time he spends in New York.
Yeah.
You've been to the Playboy Mansion ever?
Yep.
So have I, a few times, right? What's my point? I've been to a Diddy party also before. But there's a big difference between going outside on the lawn in the Playboy Mansion between versus getting in the house. You don't get in the house. You maybe been to the grotto, and you're certainly not going upstairs to the bedroom.
Yep.
So I appreciate you don't really know what's going on inside the house.
I do.
You could say,
I mean, I do, but yeah.
Okay, but I have no clue what's going on
like
inside.
You had no clue when you went. Like even
it's a party.
What I'm asking is, I get that, but was there even when you were going, were the streets in Miami talking about
no? Okay. Zero. And I know guys.
What year? How far back are we going?
2010.
But see, it's not even about being.
But I know
freaky.
guys that ran Ciroc. I mean, buddies of mine that ran Ciroc in the clubs in Miami. They would show up. They got the Ciroc boys, like all these things. But you would hear Diddy party stories, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
Like what? We never talked about Diddy like this.
But it's
3
not.
years
But
ago,
you guys, it's
5
not,
years ago.
Yeah.
So they've been tight-lipped.
I've never been a fan.
No,
I've never. I've always, in my eyes, based on what I've read and the people I've talked to, I've always seen him as the reason why Tupac's not here.
Oh wow!
I've always seen that. So that for me, it's not even this. For me, it's just I don't.
And Tupac was your guy.
He gives me the wrong vibe from day one for me.
Yeah, he's there's something about. I love what Jordan Peterson said. As I get older, I get more religious, or at least God is in my life, And he said something really interesting. When you violate every principle, every rule that, let's just take the Judeo-Christian ethic. When you violate basically every rule that has been laid out for you and say something like the Bible. Now, you can say whatever you want about the Bible. It still seems to be relevant. Why is the story endured after all this time? Maybe there's a reason. I don't know. But Jordan Peterson said something really cool. He said, when you embrace that dark side, when you are your own God, which is what it is. When you are your own God, which is a form of idolatry, God's fire will feel like hell. And right now, bro, everything he's built is being burned down, and he was realizing he's been living in a house of cards. And that fire is burning down his status, his power, his wealth, maybe even his freedom. Everything about him that he was standing on is being reduced to ash. And that can be looked at as a purification. He can bear his cross, get closer to the truth. or he can decide to fight it and continue down this path to hell.
I love the fact that you brought up Jordan Peterson, Callen, because I did my other show that I do, Soscast here. I had the guy Rob Smith on, the gay black conservative. We had this conversation, and we talked about him having a God complex, Messiah complex. When you have that much status, wealth, notoriety, everything, like what else is there? And he talked about how in Hollywood, when you have all this, like even straight guys are like, all right, I've already had all the chicks. Let me go try something new, like that. And he kind of equated that to Diddy. And then Jordan Peterson had a quote, every man must learn to be a monster, an absolute monster, but then you need to learn how to control it. And what Diddy wasn't able to do, he was a savage. You've seen that video. I'm a freaking savage. I get whatever I want. He was an absolute monster savage. He just didn't know how to control it. And then Rob said,
if you want to be freaky,
he said he's going to get redemption. He said he's going to get. I said, is he any way he's going to get redemption? He goes, yeah, he can get it. I go, how? He goes, through the black church. They'll embrace him. I said, what do you mean? They go, they'll embrace him. You talked about the Bible.
Well, Christianity will
He's going to
embrace
say,
him.
God I've restored my faith. I've asked for forgiveness. He goes, call it right now. 6, 12, 18 months, whatever happens with Diddy, he's going to go through the churches to get redemption.
But that's a Christian thing, isn't it? It's like you've been lost and now you're found.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't respect people like that. Like if he goes to like the church route, and mind you, I am a Christian. I'm a practicer. I go to church. I pray every single morning. I pray at night. I pray during the day once in a while. For somebody like that, that's just going to use Christianity and God and Jesus Christ as an insurance policy. Like, oh my God, I better have it. No, that Christianity has to be a way of life, brother. If God isn't like, he needs God more than anything. But this is like that last minute, forgive me. No. It has to be embedded in you. That guy, bro, I've heard stories about him, Brian, and we're from, we lived in Hollywood. I lived there forever.
Yeah.
These type of things, what he does, and I'm not even to say the names because I'm not that guy, very prominent, huge actor that loves me. We go to the house, we chill. These dudes would be like, yo, this shit's about to get crazy right now. To some of the girls too, you guys should leave.
I know who you're talking about.
I know you know what I'm talking about. PBD, think about this. Y'all, because they respected us and they know who I was, that listen, we love you, but this is the part where y'all should just bounce because it's going to get crazier than what I'm.
And by the way, there's a difference though. If you want to get freaky, all good, man. You want to get weird and freaky good. It's when you start getting abusive. It's when you're hitting people. It's when you're doing all this weird shit. Like, come on, man. So there's
and by recording people and having cameras in the room where you leave, Brian, and somebody goes, hey, Brian, I need this. I want to be in this movie. I want this. And you go, nah, dog, I'm sorry. And they go, oh, really? Look at that. That's you in the room with that girl.
If you want to get, what's the best song about freaky, man? Like it's
freaky you is all I need.
Feel so
freaky tonight.
Freaky tonight.
Hey, maybe Diddy was also a gay man, and his brand and his sexuality didn't meet. Like, there's a lot of stories about him, like basically being like, "Hey, look, there's your dick, that's my dick. She's between us now. She's not. Whoa!" You know, I mean, that's what it sounds like.
And by the way, the guy that's capitalizing off of this is 50 Cent. He sells his documentary on Diddy to Netflix after bidding war.
Amazing.
Reportedly sold his documentary on the sexual abuse allegations against Diddy. The multi-part documentary titled "Did He Do It?" ? Produced by G-Unit Film and Television Studios, was the subject of a massive bidding war between multiple networks and streaming services. 50 Cent confirmed that the sale, by the way, of commenting on TMZ's article on X. He first complained that they used a fat boy picture of him, speculating that the reason was to do Netflix choosing his Diddy documentary over theirs, which was sold to Tubi and premiered on April the 28th. It's okay, guys. We're all making great television. Mine just happened to be the best. Netflix wins the bidding war, but if more victims keep coming out, I'm going to need more episodes, he wrote. So he's not playing around.
You know what,
the picture
Simmons
is right, too. Look at the picture of 50.
Yep. You know what Russell Simmons did? That's how he's amazing.
He just
reminds me of this picture right here, PBD. Me right here.
Russell Simmons, 12 women came out with hard R rape allegations.
Yeah.
He just went to Thailand.
Yeah.
He was like, I'll see you later. He just went to Thailand.
And people kind of forgot.
Yeah, he's living in Bali.
You talking about Russell Brand?
No, Russell Simmons. Def Jam.
By the way, 50 Cent, you talked about checks and balances earlier. What percentage is he just capitalizing on just, I'm this dude's enemy? And what percentage do you think is credible? Because they have a major history together. So
he hates him. There's hatred there, bro.
Is there credibility?
There's hatred.
Right. Or is there
No. If 50 Cent made no bones about trolling him the minute this stuff came out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
Oh, and he's been trolling too about the suspect behavior. And Diddy is, and even Andrew Schultz can attest, like a true gangster. Like, yeah, he made his money.
Yeah, when the FBI comes in with a battering ram and takes down restraining walls or whatever it's called, retaining walls, they're not doing that because they don't have anything.
Yeah, they have a lot.
My friend who went to jail for 6 years for drug trafficking told me, he goes, when the feds show up in their black SUVs and there's a line of them, please understand, you're done. They've got, my buddy goes, how long have you been watching me? And they were like, a year. And they go, the good news is if you turn on X, Y, and Z, you're not going to do a day in jail. And he goes, I'm not doing that. So he spent 6 years in Fort Dix.
Gangster.
When he came out, they were like, hey, we'll take care of you. But at the end of and when he got into Fort Dix, he gets there, they loved him right away, and they were like, "Man, I hope you're not a narc. I hope you're not a snitch. If you're a snitch, man, it'll be a bummer." And when they found out he didn't turn, they threw a party for him. And he said, "If I had had women there, I never would have left." He said, "I had a blast." He goes, "Shitty food, miserable. The roof was off the thing. I hated it. But if I had had women, access to women, I wouldn't have left. We hung out all day, lifted."
PBD, what's this whole story that they're gonna maybe try to get him with the RICO Act? Obviously, you've done all your mafia interviews. So have you? What's the RICO situation?
There's a whole different story here with RICO. We'll just wrap up. I'll read the story and then we'll wrap up because 11:30 is here.
Damn,
Diddy reportedly prepares for possible RICO indictment. Sean Diddy Combs may be praying for the best, but he prepares for the worst. Rumor has it that he's the embattled hip-hop figure has put together a legal team, dream team, as he anticipates a possible RICO indictment any day now. Source tells media take out that the rapper's legal team has warned him of the aftermath of the federal investigation for alleged sex trafficking and other allegations against him. They believe that federal indictment could be handed out any day now. By the way, while I had Diddy's lawyer on, Rob, you remember when we had his lawyer on? Ooh. I asked his lawyer, wasn't he the lawyer that was the $30 million case lawyer? Yeah. Like, he's the lawyer that represented him, that negotiated the $30 million with Cassie just a year ago. But now, for this time around, he chose not to represent him. And I asked the question, I said, any reason? Did he call you to have you represent? I can't answer that question. It's a client. I said, but he must have called you. You've always done good for him. Why did you say no to him? Like I said, I didn't. I said, but you know he called you. Like, we know he called you. Are you very good at what you do? Yes. This is the guy, Benjamin Brafman. Oh, yeah. If you don't know who he is, he's like the godfather of lawyers, right? The way he dodged that question. So he's called him, and he said no. If the RICO thing goes, I am so curious to know if he's going to come out wanting to represent him, because there's going to be a lot of money on the table as well. This guy's going to be making money on this Diddy case. Yeah. But I'm watching to see if this guy come out. Anyways, gang, if you enjoyed today's podcast with Bryan Callen, send him a manect. Give him some love. If you got questions, thoughts on anything we talked about, send him a manect to Bryan. If you're in South Florida watching this, the great Rob will be opening.
Rob Garcia.
Actually, I watched him. I was so flippin' blown away by Rob as an opener for Vinny. Vinny, you obviously heard what Bryan said about Vinny. He'll be there, and Bryan will be there. Dania Beach 2 times tonight, 2 tomorrow, and Sunday.
And then DaniaImprov.com, is that the website to go?
DaniaImprov.com.
What times?
7:30 and 10:30 tonight, Rob?
7:30, 10 tonight, 7 and 9:30 Saturday, 7 p.m. Sunday.
Damn,
guys,
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure Pat's going to come on. Guys, we have some special people that I want to talk to you about that want to come out and see us perform.
Only if you like laughing really hard for an hour and a half. Otherwise, don't worry about it.
Then stay home and be depressed.
If you hate laughing really hard.
Seinfeld said you got to have a sense of humor.
That's all.
Rob, put the link below for them to go get registered. Gang, have a great weekend. We'll do it again next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.